Bro, what? We got full brain rot in the opening seconds.
Oh my god. Sasrama being mean to Frank. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Welcome back. And welcome back, gamers. Speaking of unbelievable, bro. I'm watching Instagram Reels a little bit before I start streaming, you know, as a Gen Zer does. Bro, the gall of More Perfect Union to post this shit. Yes, thank you, Instagram, for being a wonderful platform.
Obviously a mistake. So what if we did the opposite? What if we nationalized the airline?
Which, like, first of all, it's not at all obvious that it was a mistake to deregulate the airline industry. I believe there's one study. I don't think it's just about the U.S., but it's about privatization in airplanes and airports. And I found it had overall positive effects. And even like the totally private airports, oh, what's up, Hulkflyer? Welcome back. Tend to perform better than the like concession arrangements, where essentially the government still like owns the airport, but just like contracts out all of the management and everything to like a private firm, so they still have like a profit incentive and such. Like even totally private ownership outperform that. So do you have opinions on that? One San Francisco Fed paper that found supply constraints do not explain housing prices and quantity variations across cities. So I think it's like some evidence of I don't want to say necessarily against YIMBYism. Like, I don't think anything in that paper is like incompatible against YIMBYism or whatever. But like, you know, I don't like not rate it at all or whatever, right? I think it's like some evidence. Now, I haven't looked deep into this, but there's certain people who argue. I think the Michael Weeb guy or whatever has argued this. And to be fair, I think they like the original authors addressed him, and I haven't looked deep into it. But I think other people since Michael Weeb have dug deeper into it. There's some argument about how they what's the term, how they specify it or whatever. There's some evidence of essentially they don't take into account the fact that people are likely sort of substituting away from the otherwise would be much more expensive cities to like the suburbs. Also, welcome back, Ryan. Has an urban housing responded to that? He might have. Probably. Welcome back, Momentum. Welcome back, Venezuelan Kangaroo. Not fun. Open the Hormuz Strait. I'm doing my best. Don't you worry. I'm on the case. I remember one of my replies got liked by the guy who wrote one of the papers. And I like my own tweets, of course. What's up, Easy Money? This guy who wrote one of the critiques of the paper, which, like I said, his paper was addressed by the original authors. I haven't looked deep into it, so I can't say for certain that one side got the better of another. But essentially, I don't believe this is his paper, but a similar paper, or like a paper pointing to the same issue. What I say, more stringent land regulations see similar house price growth in response to demand, likely a fake competition effect. Their new homes are further away from the city center because of regs. All else equal, faraway homes would have lower prices, making up for costly commutes. U.S. over the last 30 years, use of a naive weighting scheme to construct a city-level index would systematically underestimate appreciation rates in large or supply inelastic cities. But I believe... I don't believe the authors have addressed this specific paper yet, but they've addressed, or they've responded to, I don't want to say addressed, kind of implies they were correct, but they've at least responded to papers pointing out the same potential issue. So I'm not certain at it. I just don't think, I mean, you could read like the FAQ, and in the FAQ, they say like, oh, you know, we're not saying supply constraints don't matter, and we're not saying like it's not good to build more. You know, we're just saying overall the sort of the bigger picture might be more demand side factors.
Billie Eilish was accepting an award recently, and in her speech, she critiqued billionaires. She said,
"Oh, I thought it was going to be the veganism thing. No, this is the billionaire thing. It's from a little bit ago."
She said that people need help, the country needs empathy, and there are a lot of people in this room right now who have a lot more money than me.
What's up, Spin City?
Why don't you give it away? And then it was also announced that she would be donating
that part's true, though.
$11.5 million. And whether or not you agree with her, you think it's a tax write-off, you think it's performative, she is...
It's just the supply constraints do not explain paper? Yeah.
Right. Billie Eilish's net worth is $53 million, and if she's giving $11.5 million from one of her tours, that's 20% of her net worth. And just to show how impactful it would be if even just the top 10 billionaires gave 20% of their net worth, I did the math. And so I mainly did the top 10 billionaires, the people who were present when Billie Eilish made the speech, and then a peer of Billie Eilish, which would be like Taylor Swift. And now these are a lot of numbers, but the main number you want to focus on is this is just 20% of all of their net worths. And if you add all those numbers up, it is $400,140 million. Now I want you to keep that number in mind. So in August of
I bet she's gonna do. Listen, I donate, 10% of my income, from streaming. It's not very high or anything. I think a lot of billionaires should donate a lot more of their money, right? I think a lot of these things are just memes, though.
The World Food Program.
I don't know.
We need $40 billion per year to feed all of the world's hungry people and end global hunger by 2030. Now,
it's like the thing. I wonder if you'll say it in here, like the $20 billion to like end homelessness or whatever. It's like kind of incredibly unrealistic assumptions about how efficiently we could actually build homes and such. What a great paper. A journal should force authors of that paper to get attention to publish an FAQ like that. Yeah, I mentioned the FAQ earlier. Yeah.
30 minus 2022 is 8 years. And then if you do 40 billion times 8, that's 320 billion. And then if you do 400 billion, 140 million minus 320
sounds like if billionaires just pour their money, they will fix the problems without accounting for other variables, sure.
Billion. That would leave 80.14 billion.
KFC sucks.
After solving global hunger.
I agree, I guess.
Taking into account.
Hold on, what was
10 billion. That would leave 80.14 billion left after solving global hunger. And this is only taking into account the top 10 billionaires. Imagine if every single billionaire and every single multi-millionaire did this. And just to be clear, even if majority of those billionaires gave 20% of their net worth, they would still be
So does Burger King, but Burger King has the fucking estrogen burgers. So
billionaires.
By that I mean they have actually they might not anymore, but they had the Impossible Whopper at least.
Perspective. And again, regardless of if you agree with Billie, dislike Billie, whatever, she is right. We have the money to make the world a better place. They are just hoarding it. Billie Eilish was accepting an award recently.
True. Some of those things are like from my understanding, kind of meme stuff about how much they could actually do. But they should donate more. Way more. Infinitely more. How do you even eat the Impossible Whopper? I mean, I don't believe I've ever had the Impossible Whopper. I can't eat that koi feed. I don't believe I've never had an Impossible Whopper from Burger King. I believe I don't even know if I've had an Impossible Burger before. I know I've had like their ground beef, and I know I've had Beyond Meat, their patties. I don't think I've ever had an Impossible Burger actually. Enough fun. I remember what you're talking about. Urban Housing did a response to FAQ in a Substack. I forgot specifically what he said because it's been a while since he looked at this. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I could find it too. But I got like 10 minutes before. I will be joining the thing, which actually I don't know where the fuck their server is. I'm in too many servers. I'll find it later. You can't eat it, dumbass. That's why it's called impossible. True. The soy pill healthcare stuff. Soy pill ran. He ran. No. What did you want in? Some, you're not gonna know them. The Marketplace of Ideas dude. They're I guess, small time podcasters. So I don't know exactly what we're doing, but they got some shit planned, I guess. Let me and my Discord friends prep soy pill for your debate. Dude, I prepped soy pill for our debate. I've given him the studies from, I wish I remember the author's names, but some of the studies about the novelty of medication that's developed in response to like pharmaceutical price controls that find essentially like, oh, you know, the non-novel medication is like the most affected. And like, you know, we spend a lot of R&D money, or the private sector does at least, on like old age care, and that's probably just like not necessarily the most important thing. It's drugs that like don't even necessarily extend their lifespan, but just one that, you know, improves their quality of life, which is still, you know, good, obviously. It'd be bad to prevent that and nothing else, but maybe it's not like so bad if you get rid of some of that, but get some redistribution and or get some to some extent maybe change which drugs are being developed to more novel ones. Don't be annoying. I'm always annoying. Jason Brennan in his book, Why It's Okay to Be Rich, did a whole response to there. Why don't billionaires just pour their money stuff? Okay. Is that that's the like In Defense of Capitalism book, right? Maybe. No. Wait. No, Jason Brennan. No, I'm thinking of a different dude. Which, by the way... Oh, it's not here anymore. Oh, no, it warns me. I hit my fucking Notion... Or, sorry, not Notion. Zotero limit. Just remembered the Why Not Capitalism stuff. Oh, yeah. I gotta fucking upgrade my Zotero account to the fucking $60 a year tier or whatever it is. Or I could delete stuff, but I don't want to delete stuff. I don't want to delete stuff. When is your thing? In 9 minutes. Anyway. Again, the gall of this video, bro, that they're reposting right now.
And if you had a single airline in the whole country, it would be very efficient. You could fly anywhere you wanted on a single airline.
That would...
What, like, there might be lower administrative costs. I don't think it necessarily follows that it's efficient. Airlines don't even like really, like they don't even really fit the like natural monopoly model as well as like trains do, right? Like they have a lot more I don't know a better way to describe it. They have a lot more freedom in how they move. It's not like there's, you know, one set of tracks, and it's just a lot more efficient to have one set of tracks as opposed to two parallel sets of tracks by different train companies. Like, I would never call the Von Man annoying. Thanks, Ashrama. The Democratic Party's headwinds are clearly towards more perfect unionism. I agree, unfortunately. But, you know.
Government would have a duty to serve everywhere, like the post office. A national...
Don't we literally already subsidize the hell out of fucking rural flights? I could be wrong. U.S. rural flights. Subsidies. This might be. Oh my god! Why is Edge? I hate Edge so much. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe subsidize. This does not look like that many counties, to be fair. Maybe subsidize the hell out of it was extreme, but. And I could guarantee that small communities in the U.S., which have been served by certified airlines prior to deregulation in 1978, maintain commercial service. Its aim is to maintain a minimal level of scheduled air service to these communities that otherwise would not be profitable. I mean, it's only $250 million. That ain't much. That ain't that much. Air travel is a public good. Yeah, literally, it says down here, I think. Air travel is a public good.
Nationalized airline could also have fair and transparent ticket prices based on what it actually costs to operate. No dynamic pricing. Now, would this mean that ticket...
I think part of the reason... So there are probably other reasons that it would kind of more fundamental to the market structure of it or whatever that causes to. Part of the reason, from my understanding, why airlines do that, by the way, is because some of the fees are exempt from taxation. So it kind of makes sense for them to try to shift as much burden onto the fees as opposed to the ticket price, because they aren't. I don't want to say they're not taxed at all. I don't know. They're not taxed at all. I would imagine there's some tax in it at some point, but
ticket prices
they're not penalized as much for it.
Go up? Not necessarily. If you look at ticket prices before deregulation, they were actually falling.
Calling for my passion.
After. And study after study has found that if the feds had continued...
Also, I don't know. I'd have to... I can't fucking go back in Instagram.
...to enforce their ticket pricing formula, regulation...
I don't know. I wouldn't be particularly surprised if that was the case. But I feel like, intuitively, I would expect it to remain, in real terms, relatively constant, if not fall a little bit. Just because I know planes have gotten a lot more fuel efficient, and they have... they've gotten bigger, too.
...would have offered lower fares than the free market. Most importantly, a nationalized airline would be accountable to us. We can set quality of service standards like minimum seat sizes, baggage allowances, and refund and rebooking policies. Remember, we've already...
Even if ignoring any, free rider problems, ignoring any potential principal agent problems there, why would you not? I feel you could just mandate those if you really wanted those. If you really wanted those, bro.
Already been subsidizing our private airlines with billions of dollars in bailouts.
These are just communists.
And we have no control over...
Well, hold on. See, Easy Buddy, this is like, kind of the same thing. Or like, we were fighting about this a little bit in Discord earlier. I didn't respond to everything because I was getting ready for stream and shit. But like I don't know. Like, would you say like the Democratic Party's headwinds are in this condition, and these people are communist and yada yada yada? It's just like I think that's true in like maybe a slightly larger sense than it's true that like a lot of Republicans are Christian nationalists, right? Like I think Charlie Kirk, like if you look at not only what he argued but also how he argued for things, like it's very apparent that like he is very Christian, very much is basing a lot of his political positions off of that. Hello, Master. Are we though? I don't think you are, to be clear. But what I'm doing here, and I think I'll concede that like the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is like one kind of more open about how far they want to go, and two, probably bigger than like the what might be fairly characterized as like Christian nationalist or like evangelical wing of the like Republican Party. But I think it's like you know, I don't think it's likely that like full on single payer healthcare would pass in the US in a reasonable time scale. I also don't think it's likely that like a full scale abortion ban would ever pass in the US. I think that's, you know, even less likely. But in the same sense that like I'm worried about the ideology there with or you're worried about the ideology there with like progressives, I also just have worries about the ideology of certain sectors of the Republican Party. Saw some heading called CEO pay grew 20 times faster than worker wages. I haven't looked up at a specific article, but more or less feels like CEOs earn 300 times more meme stuff, and who knows, it could be wrong. Yeah, it's all memes. We don't have much time here. But
how they operate or what they do with that money. Over the past 10 years, the biggest US airlines spent 96% of free cash flow on buying back their own shares. A nationalized airline wouldn't need profit or concern itself with shareholders, so it can use revenue for technological innovation and a rainy day fund so they don't go bankrupt during lean years. Many countries run nationalized airlines.
I would have to look it up. 96% seems high, but I mean, stock buybacks are just a way of returning income to your shareholders. So to some extent, it makes sense why they would spend a lot of their free cash flow on that.
Airlines, some existing alongside private ones. But the key is that they all need to be regulated on certain things.
When you have a
Are we going to get the Trump heir that doesn't go bankrupt since it's national?
where the prices are regulated,
I can't wait.
airlines still
Can't wait for the golden shares.
but now they're competing for quality of service.
As for Southwest and the low-cost carriers they inspired, many of them today are fighting bankruptcy or trying to...
I wonder why.
It's
Fighting bankruptcy or trying to consolidate. Maybe those two things are like related, right? Like maybe because they can't consolidate, they are therefore like less efficient and have a higher chance of like facing bankruptcy. Anyway, we'll check this out later. Let me save it. And then one real quick thing, and I'll join. I'm going to be late. Just on a CEO thing or whatever, there has to be better numbers than the ones I found, but this fucking meme tweet that went semi-viral. If capitalism truly rewarded skill or intelligence, the richer people would be neurosurgeons and engineers and scientists. If it rewarded talent, it would be artists, writers, and creators. Which I don't think anyone defines talent this, like no one talking about talent, how capitalism rewards talent, is referring purely to like creative talent. But regardless, if it rewarded hard work, it would be cleaners, laborers, and service workers. But it's none of them. Ignoring all the other dumb stuff or whatever. Oh, thanks. Fucking stupid. This is not... There's probably better numbers out there. There's like BLS data from on the median wage of a bunch of people. So if you look at chief executives, they're 221,000 for like private sector only. That's not only CEOs or anything. It also includes like COOs and like the government. Otherwise, it's probably not the best data. It has to be better data out there. Like the government and private thing. This includes like school principals and like mayors. And that's obviously not the type of thing people think of when they hear chief executive, right? Private only should get rid of most of those people. And then also, it doesn't include, I don't know how much this would change it necessarily for the median, because I bet the people who get like really large stock payments are kind of outliers, but, and they shouldn't affect the median all that much. It doesn't include the, like any stock they get. And then it also doesn't, it doesn't look at how much they actually work. It's like based on, they compute the hourly wage and then they multiply it by 2,080 hours a year. And probably the CEOs, are many of them probably work more than that. Many of them probably work less than that. It's probably, you got to change the numbers a bit. Also want to say your base chef for being flexible, being flexible with scheduling. I mean, I'm not a particularly busy guy. But he didn't respond to my request to shill in the court. Oh, I was setting up stream, but I did see that. I don't have anywhere to tell you to shill it unless you already have a following somewhere. Nathan Robinson really thought he was dropping a troop on by setting on learning econ. Yeah. What do you think of prostitution, stings with undercover prostitutes? Do you think that's a good use of police resources? But probably. Who are they going after? Just the people who buy prostitutes? Or like, I don't know, like maybe it's good if it's like, if like a pimps are like,
hello.
What's up?
What's up, neighbor? How you doing?
Oh, you know.
Not much.
Oh,
Are you live, partner?
Oh, I am live. Yeah. So don't
How's it going?
say anything too bad.
We always make that joke.
That's like the low-hanging streamer joke. Keep your slurs to yourselves.
Oh, we did it. We're edgy. We did it. Okay, we are not live. We're going live. We will play our intro music, and we will read a couple of things off to start the show, and we'll get into an excellent conversation, and we'll be playing some games.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, it does. Alrighty, you can tune into that to watch the intro when it plays here in a moment.
Yep. Who is this?
Alright,
These
click
are...
and go live.
I've talked to them before. Called a marketplace of ideas. I don't know. They're just streamer, online podcast people.
Our forefathers fought for liberty, individual freedom, self-expression, and the right to self-determination. They created a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, establishing a nation of free individuals who ignited a bright beacon of hope. America's a land where any person, from any background, can succeed, so long as they endeavor forthright with determination in their heart. A melting pot, the greatest hits album of the human race. We gather here today to renew that sacred bond, that oath to freedom. Welcome to the marketplace of ideas.
Good evening and welcome to the show where we pit policy wonks against political wanks, the marketplace of ideas. I'm your host, Kyle Smith, and joining me as always is a man who wanks a little more than he wonks, James Fast Hands Vagabond.
Thank you, Kyle. Wonderful to be here once again with you, and of course with our friend Nonfon with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome back, brother. Thanks for coming back. We were gonna have a wonderful episode with Soy Pill, but unfortunately they ran into something else they had to deal with. We'll probably be having them on next week or another time. We're trying to reschedule. But tonight we're going to have an excellent conversation about economics. So our current political landscape is full of grifters and hucksters, get-rich schemes, empty promises of easy solutions that will right the ship and bring riches to every industry and worker. From tariffs to Bitcoin, rent control, and universal basic income, both sides of the political aisle are exploring economic policies outside of the old mainstream. But can they bring results? Tonight, the Marketplace of Ideas, we will explore populist economics, the struggles of the working class, and how we can ensure prosperity, as well as perhaps the abundance agenda, and if we have time, a little bit of exploring modern monetary theory. Should money printer go burr, or is MMT an empty theory? So, Nonfon, what is your get-rich scheme to steal money from the working class and leverage it for your own gains?
I don't know. It's called. I mean, there's a bunch of things you can do with Claude Code by now. You can use Claude Code to make some Fortnite maps that scam kids out of their V-Bucks. I see a lot of ads for that type of stuff on Twitter. I mean, it's always the classic, especially it's also enhanced by Claude Code, just trying to scam elderly people, with any number of potential schemes. You don't even have to do the thinking now. Claude can do that too. But ultimately,
beautiful.
the real transfer of wealth is simply caused by the evil capitalism that I support, that it only enriches the rich and they get richer while everyone else gets poorer, obviously.
Yeah. And what have you come up with any new ways to leverage the rich against the poor recently that you'd like to talk to us about? Have you figured out any new things that the left is completely wrong on that has come to the forefront for you?
Well, but I think the spirit declaring bankruptcy, that's a pretty recent thing where I think I've been skeptical of the sort of extreme antitrust of Lena Khan previously, but I think the Spirit Airlines example is just a good little lesson in the fact that like Elizabeth Warren came out and said like, oh, this I forget exactly what she said, but she was saying that like, oh, this is so bad because now the industry is going to be like more consolidated, and like, she's if the merger with Spirit had gone through, there's a decent chance that they would not have been not up to declare bankruptcy. It seems like we have decent evidence that like mergers kind of tend to bring the lower productivity firm up to the level of productivity of the like the average of them. So that would be generally helpful. And if you like the type of markets that Spirit is competing in, it's obviously like the budget market, and they're a good and Southwest as well, they're trying to merge with. They're the ones competing against the big, larger, I say premium, but more regular airlines. So even there's not even good reason to believe that Spirit merging with Southwest would have any in the airline market as a whole would even be bad for consumers at all.
So is the recent like oil prices and everything, is that something that just kicked off this Spirit thing, or is this a looming disaster anyways?
I mean, I don't know specifically like if oil prices were the nail in the coffin. It could have been,
serious factor,
but
or
I don't think it was that big because I know Spirit has been struggling for a while. They're probably always eventually doomed, and you would think that a bigger firm would probably be able to manage the spike in oil prices better than two smaller firms. But
well, there can only be so many JetBlues, there can only be so many shitty airlines that people will still fly on for inexplicable reasons. So it's time we narrowed it down by one airline, I think.
That's true. I was just talking about you guys know who More Perfect Union is?
James might be familiar, yeah.
Yeah, they're the epitome of the slopulism on the left. They made a video, which I haven't watched the whole thing yet, like 1 or 2 years ago, about airlines and why we should nationalize the airline industry. And the Spirit Airlines, their kind of bankruptcy is what made them repost that video to Shorts, and maybe it triggered me. That's why I was a minute or so late, because I was triggered by that video and I had to yell about it to my chat.
You know what? That might actually be good for our momentum, because we were intending on triggering you just a little bit, if it'd be all right. Let's go. You see, last time you were so gracious to come on our show last minute, and I feel like we didn't give you what you were hoping to get, which is a properly contentious conversation. And so we're going to do our best to give that to you. And we're going to start with a game that we like to call Straw Man, Steel Man.
Straw Man.
Steel Man.
Now, Straw Man, Steel Man is a game that hopefully is self-explanatory, but just in case it isn't, we've got several straw man claims that are geared towards your perspectives, and of course they are not properly aligned in OBS, so we're going to deal with that real quick. But basically, with these three straw man, I'd like you to read them out, try and give your best steel man of these arguments as best as you can, and then afterwards we'll give you the opportunity to say what you actually believe. That sound all
Like
right?
you mean it. So we're gonna pit
Sure.
you against your better judgment. We're gonna make you steel man the other side. I'm
Okay.
looking forward to it. Yeah, get ready.
All right, we're drawing an arrow. That's not what we
These
want.
are
What we want.
scientifically designed to trigger you. Okay, we've been
We had
workshopping these in a lab.
By the
Our
way,
best
are-
minds.
do you need to still be
Yes?
streaming the intro thing?
Oh no, I should close that. Good call. Thank you.
James just wants everybody to know where you're at. You're at the marketplace of ideas, where we deal in fake currency. Ideas and real people. More on that later. But for now, straw man, steel man. Non-fun, here's your first straw man.
The AI revolution will lead to a glorious future because making decisions as a utilitarian is easy. All you need to do is calculate expected utility, no morals required. True. Wait, am I doing the...
AI burn past the is-ought gap, right through it. What could
Oh,
go
yeah.
wrong?
We've got a flimsy claim here attacking utilitarianism and maybe consequentialism as a whole. If you were trying to give your best effort to make the case for this argument, what would you say? And then afterwards, what do you actually believe?
I mean, so I think that I would... there's some like steelman I can do of the like calculating expected value is really hard, especially as you go like progressively into the future. And with regards to AI, if you believe that there ever, could be digital minds, right? That utilitarians would grant some level of consideration to on account of them being minds. I mean, I think most people would to some degree at least. Then it comes out that like, kind of all minds and expectation are digital, because probably the number of digital minds that would exist in the future are, in the trillions and the quadrillions potentially. So even if you don't think that that's particularly likely, because their number is so high, if you think those AIs are going to live really good lives, then you should be doing a lot of things to make sure that world happens. If you think they are not going to live particularly good lives, maybe you should do a lot of things that try to prevent that from happening. I guess I'm not sure I can do a steelman of the no morals required. I just don't. That's just not what the.
It's too
what
far.
Yeah.
Non-fun has
just
his
seems to
limits,
not,
okay?
But it seems to kind of be like, almost definitionally wrong because it's an ethical theory, it's a moral theory, and it prescribes. Obviously, there are differences between different types of utilitarianism, but like generally, one kind of ought do what has the highest expected value, and utilitarians will define that differently, and some of them will discount future populations or not include certain sentient beings in that or whatever. But that seems to be mistaken. Mistaken how you do that.
The most consistent criticism that I hear about consequentialism and utilitarianism in particular is that knowing how to make the calculation is itself a faulty premise, considering that it's people making those calculations. I don't know that I personally buy into this, but I'm curious about your take on that criticism.
Yeah, you just wait. Like expected value includes the uncertainty in it, and I think it's like, reasonable to have some debates about how uncertain we should be, but like, if I'm only 50% sure that like a really bad outcome will happen, like I just weigh that uncertainty against how bad the outcome is, right? So like maybe I'm only 50% sure that if I press this button, it's going to kill 1 million people, but given I'm only 50% sure, I discount the possibility of that happening by 50%. So like the expected value of that would be like 500,000 people dead, right? I'm multiplying the outcome by the probability of it happening, and I think you can incorporate the uncertainty into that. And I think other moral theories probably have like a similar issue. I wish I could recite the whole argument by memory or whatever, but there is an argument. It's called like the paralysis argument. So if you're a utilitarian, because of the kind of butterfly effect, because of how hard it is to even know what things are going to happen in the future, it's not exactly like clear what the expected value of a lot of like ordinary actions kind of are, right? But you would like, if I drive to the store, that's going to be affecting, you know, what humans are born in the future. It's going to be moving the wind in such a way that it's, you know, going to potentially cause a tornado on the other side of the world, right? But, you know, I think because there's so much uncertainty, and because certain things like kind of how good or bad like the average human is or whatever are like random to slightly net positive or just like neutral, or at least on average neutral, right? Maybe your actions cause like 10 really bad people to be born and 10 really good people to be born, right? So, like most of those actions are
just the wrong painter to be criticized, and it's all over.
I know.
Yeah, but I mean,
you know, you could cause 10 Hitlers. But hold on, just real quick.
Sure.
To finish it out, yeah. But I think for the utilitarian, there's like a relatively simple answer there. It's like, well, I think it's probably the best assumption that like most of these things are like neutral essentially. If you care especially about like rights violations, right? Like causing in some manner the violation of someone's rights is like significantly worse than or like can't be made up for by protecting other people's rights, or can't be made up by a sufficient amount of welfare or whatever, then you have a problem there, which they essentially they wouldn't use the expected value terms obviously, but kind of the expected value of doing anything is like negative, hence the term the paralysis argument.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't it so much easier, though, to teach people something like virtue ethics? The average person who can't be bothered to put the grocery cart away at the store, if they have to make a utility calculation about whether or not they should put away their grocery cart, and they come to stupid conclusions about how they're creating jobs or some shit, isn't it just better to teach them that putting their grocery cart away is just the right thing to
decent.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So
don't
I
be a
think,
dick.
yeah, for one, essentially the criticism there in like more proper terms or whatever, in the terms I've heard it, I say more proper, like I'm smarter. Okay, I've just read.
Calling me improper?
I'm calling you totally improper. You would never never make it on Substack. No, but I think it's that utilitarianism is like to some degree self-effacing, right? That in order for utilitarianism to work, you kind of have to teach people non-utilitarian methods. And for one, I think that's it's sort of not an intrinsic part of utilitarianism. It's a part of how it interacts with our current world. Like it's fact dependent, right? So I think like, I don't know if you guys have heard of the utility monster, but the utility monster is going to be like something kind of intrinsic to utilitarianism. You're not really going to get around the utility monster without changing something kind of fundamental about utilitarianism, or at least some forms of it. You can be an average utilitarian, I guess, and avoid the utility monster. But you can change facts about the world and have utilitarianism be not self-effacing. So you could obviously imagine a logically possible world in which everyone was smart enough to be a utilitarian and not come to any, bad outcomes because of it. But like, to the degree that the facts are, people just kind of aren't smart enough to do that quote unquote utility consideration. I just think heuristics are good. Like rules, laws are good for that reason. They create good outcomes on net. Like there's a reason we have heuristics, not just in ethics, but in a lot of things. Is because it's hard to get people to understand everything.
Are you saying there's a utilitarian case to be made for deontology?
Yeah.
Well, I would say there's a utilitarian case for not even necessarily teaching like people to be deontologists or whatever, but for using heuristics essentially, and that's gonna some of the useful heuristics are obviously going to align with values that certain deontologists have.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, it'll sound the same. Pragmatically, it'll look the same, but yeah. Wow, this conversation is entirely too intelligent. So let's get back to triggering him with round 2.
Indeed, I would like something even more contentious than the last one. It seems like we found middle ground all too quickly. So here is straw man.
Well,
other
than not quite being able to steel man the last one entirely just because it was 2, but we did
one of the
flesh
claims
out the
there
good
was
faith there.
Yeah. Well, I just
couldn't quite swallow the no morals required bit of it. Couldn't quite swallow it. Understandably,
I think that's kind of like definitionally wrong. I do want to. Yeah. I just want to read the pretty short formal argument here, the paralysis thing, 1, almost all of our ordinary actions have unfathomably many long-term effects. 2, a substantial share of these effects involve serious harm to innocent people. 3, deontologists believe that we have powerful moral reasons against seriously harming innocent people, which can be outweighed, if at all, by achieving, only by achieving comparatively enormous benefits. 4, committing oneself to altruistic long-termism offers a way, maybe the only way, for one's actions to have the enormously beneficial effects required to outweigh the many harms one inevitably causes by doing anything at all. 5, so deontologists are left with a choice between paralysis, i.e. do as little as possible to avoid causing impermissible harms, and long-termist altruism, i.e. working to realize benefits large enough to outweigh the harms one causes. That's the more formal.
Well, perhaps if I'd been more proper, I would have said that. But I appreciate you filling in for the propriety of the show.
I'm gonna need to digest that whole system another time. I haven't come into contact with this one before, so I will need time to digest that.
Well, for now at the very least, non-fun if you could. Straw man number 2.
Democrats have to stop trying to be Republican light and help the 99% instead of trying to balance the wants of their wealthy donors with the people who actually vote. We wouldn't have had any of this nonsense if they hadn't screwed over Bernie Sanders, but Big Pharma didn't want you to have universal health care, and the DNC needed money. So I guess there is a sense in which I think Democrats are bad at listening to their voters sometimes. Now it seems like the voter base on some things is kind of genuinely split, but like on I don't want to get into that. I want to continue steel manning it, but but like I think probably
you get a chance
like,
to let it out in a second, but stick to the steel man for a moment. Stay strong, non-fun. Stay strong.
I am probably like, I don't know, it's the case that corporate Democrats, establishment Democrats are genuinely worried about the potential harms that the Bernie administration or super progressive administration might do. And they do make a concerted effort to prevent that movement from rising. And I do think there is a failure on many of them to listen to the will of the voters with regards to like how much to fight Trump or whatever, right? Like I think a lot more Democrats are probably into, I don't know for sure, but my understanding is that a lot of Democrats were like in favor of extending the shutdown longer than they did and things of that nature. So that there's a failing there, and there's a definitely some concerted effort by some people to prevent the progressive wing from like being a big part of the party.
All right, now you can let it out. What do you tear it apart?
I mean, I don't think it's like obviously not the case that they are like Republican light, right? Like I think there are so many. Your standards, I think, have to be pretty crazy high for you to think that. And I mean, most of the people saying this probably don't do this anyway. But at that point, maybe you're just like you're not a voter. You just fuck off, honestly. Like clearly, I don't even support everything the Democrats do, right? I had some criticisms earlier about like the Spirit Airlines stuff, right? But like, you know, clearly the ACA was like clearly substantial and probably the most Obama could have ever gotten, like given the situation he had. Obviously, you know, Biden, another thing I'm somewhat critical of, his appointments to the NLRB, his like general union protection that he had, arguably too much, both in the context of like economically and in the like political context, because all the unions kind of fucked him over anyways. There's not particularly good evidence that money in politics, quote unquote, even has like substantial effects. And when it does, it's not clear that the effects are bad. So there's one like I should read more into this one day, but there's one like meta-analysis of like 93 different studies looking at the impact of corporate lobbying. They essentially find, because of all the uncertainty surrounding it, it's just like not worth it for a lot of corporations to do. And when they do it, it just like does not have substantially large effects on what policy actually gets passed. And there's another one looking at the state level after Citizens United, and I found like political turnover increased between states, so like the parties switched more often, but didn't really benefit one party more than the other. And in fact, Democrats got like a very slight boost, but not a big one or anything. And then there were like pro-growth reforms that benefited both labor and capital. So it's not clear that the DNC evil corporate money comes at the like expense of workers. It can be good for capital. It might be good for their donors, but it also comes at the expense, or it can also benefit labor, at least on the whole.
I've come into contact with, I think one of the first two things that you brought up there, the study that tracks spending versus like how did it affect legislature and outcomes and things. And I think it might be one of those things where it might be hard to track because the sort of things that I think the one I'm remembering is it tracked how did people feel about things, and then where did the money go towards? And
I think I know what you're saying. You're setting the 20. I think you're setting the 2014 Princeton study, aren't you? I think that's that's probably what you're looking at.
I couldn't tell you specifically. Do you have criticisms of it before I use it as evidence?
Yeah, it's a pretty horrible paper. Like it's R squared for the main regression, which is like how much of the I don't know if you know, but for the audience, if they don't, because I know you know, right?
Yes, for the audience,
like
of course.
You know, how much of like the variance is explained by your dependent variable. So if you're measuring how correlated, I'm trying to think of two things that'd be correlated that are also like causal or whatever. I can't. Sorry, I'm tired. I can't think of it.
Same.
Like, my brain keeps going to the bad
It's been a
examples.
week.
But like for example, let's just imagine you look at a regression of like inequality and democracy. There's probably some causal mechanisms there. I have criticisms of the studies about that, which I can get into later.
Okay.
But essentially, like and you see like 90% of the effect on or like of the decline in democracy over 5 years is explained by the increase in inequality over the same 5-year period, right? So that'd be like a strong correlation where your R squared is very high. The R squared in that case would be 0.9. The R squared in their case is 0.07. So 7% of the variation in the outcome of the policy or whatever is explained by the money and politics
The spending.
thing.
Okay, so you don't have a criticism of that study, but you're saying it wouldn't support a case that it affects.
Well,
the
I think that
outcomes.
is
Is that what you're saying?
I think that is a criticism, right? That their main result is like essentially.
Oh, so they're
essentially
claiming
bunk.
that they got a great result with this .07 when it's
people interpret it at the very least as a great result. I don't actually know how they
because there's
represent it in
any
the paper.
correlation, even though it's .07. Yeah, no, okay. I would agree with you that the number there says obviously there's not a huge correlation. Maybe it has some effect, maybe it doesn't. It's so small that it could just be fluke and whatever. My criticism would be the things that people have strong opinions on aren't the things that business is necessarily going to be moving, and so I think it might be something that would be hard to capture in the data to say, well, maybe these people don't have strong the general public doesn't have strong opinions on very niche tax issues and business regulations and these things, and those are the things that are getting pulled in levers in big bills behind the scenes that. And maybe there's some room there for money to be pulling those levers and making those decisions, the ones that common people just aren't thinking on. It's not on their radar. And so when it gets passed in a big omnibus bill with, in 10,000 pages, people they don't realize that is being shaped, and they might not be able to recognize the effects that happened. Might not be something that a study can capture.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the identification of the study there would be, I don't know exactly how you would do it. There's kind of one of the issues with Slopulism, okay, they just rely too much on like anecdotes and bullshit instead of like well-identified studies. But so I think there's like a genuine kind of public choice, I would say, like issue there, where essentially I think one of the things you see happen more commonly is that there's a sort of concentrated group. For example, in the US, like sugar producers are a very kind of concentrated group. There's not that many sugar producers in the US, and they have the ability to organize, and they do in fact organize to essentially protect US sugar, our price. There's a implicit price floor that we have for sugar, and we don't let imports essentially undercut us. And that has a lot of benefits for the U.S. producers who make sugar, but it has it obviously harms consumers quite a bit. The issue there is that consumers are a very diffuse group, right? They're a very spread out group. They don't even know that this is really happening, and it's actually because each individual consumer doesn't they don't know what's happening, and it only costs them like a few extra bucks a year to pay the extra price for sugar.
And so
it's actually
organizing in some way wouldn't it doesn't occur to them. It's not.
It's like actually not worth their time to learn about it and organize on it, because like the opportunity cost of doing that is higher than them just paying the extra price for sugar, right? So there's a genuine issue
start
there.
An app for that. We're saving that $3 a year on sugar.
I mean, maybe you can do a Twitter campaign. You guys seen the on people protesting the Onion Futures Act?
No.
This is hilarious. There's essentially, I don't know the full story, but like in the 1950s, some dude essentially monopolized like all the onion futures, which is like, if we don't know, or for Chad who doesn't know, essentially like agreements to buy onions in the future at a given price,
at a certain price,
and most crops have futures markets, right? Probably essentially all of them do. But we passed a law after this dude like monopolized it all, like banning onion futures. And it's just been on the book ever since. And like, it's just a pointless policy that just like, it doesn't necessarily increase the price of onions, but it makes the price of onions more volatile, and it makes onion farming harder for farmers, right? Because there's no assurance there, right?
And that
there's
one's
no
just state, just onions. And is that
just onions,
U.S. nationally?
Yeah.
Fuck onions, I guess, man.
But
Good luck.
There's been some like econ students protesting at UC Chicago to get rid of the Onion Futures Act. But that's it. I don't actually know if any like concentrated interest benefits from the Onion Futures Act, but I mean that's a case of at least people not being able to organize in that. It just affects them so little that it's like not worth their time.
One of those just arbitrary laws that's just survived for no good reason.
Yeah.
Well, wanted to address a question from chat from Localist Party. Are you going to be asking any good questions to Non-Fawn? We weren't planning on it, but we'll see if it comes up. Hopefully we'll think of something. With that said, that last straw man, I will say, straight from Facebook. Who knows if they were a real person, but we did in fact get that from someone claiming to be a real person on a real website. Non-Fawn, we've got one more straw man for you if you're ready for it.
Yeah, let's go.
Prepare yourself.
Sovereign wealth funds are just nativist commie bullshit. So, I guess it is true that sovereign wealth funds are social ownership. Like they are obviously the government, which is typically controlled by the public to some extent. You know, they are taking ownership of certain assets, right? And it is publicly managed to some degree. Now, obviously, there are different countries have different institutions. Usually there's some independence to it and such, right? But it is literally the public owning more wealth, right? And owning equity shares, presumably, in companies. And probably that system works better in a country with high social trust. And you tend to see social trust correlate, at least to some degree, with how ethnically homogenous a country is. So that's the only reason, that's the only reason they can have socialism, clearly.
Oh, God. He got real specific with this demographic right here. He imagined a whole character, man. He's probably got a haircut in mind and everything. Like he can picture this guy's family lineage of the guy saying this.
Thanks for bringing up the gifted sub. I appreciate it.
Steel man, maybe a little too good, a little too scary. All right. So what do you actually think, neighbor?
I mean, I think there's like a way in which you could do a sovereign wealth fund, which might be net good. I'm like generally skeptical of them. I think there's not like super strong research that just necessarily owning, or like the government owning something, if it has a good structure, like Econoboy talks about all the time, how we should have like publicly owned like holding companies, but the holding companies themselves still have a profit incentive and can still go bankrupt, and they still participate in the market. So there's still prices and everything, right? And they are like to some degree publicly controlled, but they're mostly independent, and they kind of the appointments are made non-politically and such. And like under that set of institutions, I can imagine a sovereign wealth fund being, not good. But I think for one, that is
due to a lot of risk.
Yeah, I think there is a like genuine risk there. Like, what would Trump is like questionably legally buying Intel, shares, right? What would we do if we had a Trump like figure of the yeah, exactly. But what would he be doing if we had a sovereign wealth fund? Now, to some degree, like all systems are going to be predicated on good faith, right? Like, you could say, what if the Supreme Court is, all run by evil fucking evil. Yeah, exactly. It's like to some degree, it's all going to be predicated on good faith. But I think, you do introduce more risk when you have that type of system. And I think, depending on how it's organized, you could essentially reduce the returns to innovation or reduce the returns to, growing your company. So I think if you sort of mandated like at a certain size or whatever, or at least the sovereign wealth wasn't big enough where this was essentially going to happen, where like if you kind of did get to a certain size, you were going to have to sell some of your shares to the government, that potentially could essentially reduce the incentive for you to innovate, for you to, have a bunch of stock in your company and keep it growing. And there is limited, not very good evidence that the ownership solely is what matters. So there's one study from Norway, which has this sovereign wealth fund, obviously. They just look at like the productivity of firms based on market ownership, and they find that like rather than sort of the institutional dynamic, that sounds like I'm trying to sound smart, but rather than like how the institutions are structured and like whether it's directly government owned or like concessioned out or whatever, rather than that being the most important thing, it's just like whether or not it's government owned. Now it's literally just a regression. They're literally just looking at the two variables and seeing how much they correlate. That's not necessarily causal. I think it's like some evidence of it being causal, but you could imagine like probably the government is just more likely to own firms that are less productive because maybe they were more likely to go bankrupt in the past and they were like bailed out by the government, or, maybe they are areas where like there's potential like market failures, and that makes it hard for a company to succeed, and therefore the government has to like subsidize it, right? You can imagine those types of things are affecting that correlation as well.
Right, great round.
Brilliant.
Yeah, you had some Cal?
If it pleases the marketplace, we actually have an unexpected bonus straw man from the chat. If you'd like to take it on, Non-Fon. And we will, by the way, have an opportunity for callers later. So if the person in chat would like to confront you directly later, they'll have the opportunity to do so. But they just put in chat, Non-Fon does not believe in the ability for people in towns to sustain themselves independently. He believes in total dependence, centralized control, and wage slavery.
There's a lot of lore between me and Localist that you it's impossible to explain, and you should know. So you can imagine, by the name Localist, he is very much focused on doing things locally, and he doesn't even think that the United States. Yeah, believe it or not, he doesn't even think the United States should exist. He would prefer us to end our political project and be a bunch of states,
like independent city-states or something.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
And
why stop there? Why not just go to individual family units?
Yeah, forget that. Just one man, one state.
I mean, you need some, you need some help building your own house, as he suggests that everyone must do. They must build their own house. It's actually irrational for them not to build their own house, in his view, or at least for many people to not build their own house.
Go full ANCAP. Just
yeah, but
trade.
Yeah, but I mean, he, any program I support on the federal level or like even state level is like, oh, that's just like dependence on the evil central government, and the federal government doesn't even have this power. He has this like totally insane view on like nullification. By the way, he like believes that states have the legal right to nullify essentially whatever ruling they want from the Supreme Court. So
okay,
he's a little kooky.
Let's see how that works out for him.
You know what?
Let's see how that works out for him.
I'd
Give it a
love to
shot
hear from
sometime.
him. If you want to call in later, we will have that open at a later time in the show. But for now, since we've concluded this a fantastic game of Straw Man, Steel Man, and great job to our guest Non-Fawn for steel manning those with more or less effective. Well, you did call me
Believable in some
improper, and
cases.
I maybe my feelings are a little bit hurt. But hey, we're aiming for a contentious conversation, so that's what you wanted, and that's what you've gotten, hopefully, and perhaps maybe more so as we move on to the next segment. James, am I throwing you under the bus for your communism this episode? I forgot.
You couldn't do it any episode at this point. It makes for good content. So
Beautiful.
What did you have in mind? What did you have in mind specifically?
Well, I knew that we were discussing economic theory and philosophy to some degree, and I know that you are a dirty communist who wants to send us all to the wall, and Non-Fawn is not. I was wondering if that was going to play into the conversation, or if you had something a bit more nuanced in mind.
Well, it seems like your proposal is just get at him.
I mean, it made for a fun episode last week. I certainly enjoyed myself.
True.
But
well,
yeah,
I have been. You know what? Maybe you can help me, Non-Fawn. I have been flirting with the concept of communism for decades now. It hasn't been something I've been able to banish completely from my head. So have you done much theory on Marxism?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like Marx specifically. I've done a ton of reading on. I think I told you in DMs earlier. Like I read the Communist Manifesto, and I read a book of his, Wage, Labor, and Capital. I read them both like 4 years ago, and most of the manifesto obviously has like a lot of political themes. Wage, Labor, and Capital is like essentially kind of mostly about what can be counted as economics for the time. There's like kind of a political theory attached to it, obviously. Like, he speaks in terms of exploitation and such, and I think that's all like essentially a political theory. He's not really using an economic framework to define. Well, it kind of is, but being paid less than your socially necessary labor time, whatever. Regardless.
Yeah, it's very broad strokes. The more and more I've looked at it, the more I think of him as kind of like an economic Freud, where it's like, he was so early in creating the methods before we really had like a substantial understanding of the landscape of the subject, that like they can be forgiven and still considered like very capable and very meaningful, and having meaningful theories that should be considered, and haven't been, as well as we've plumbed Freud pretty good up into the modern age. It still seems like there are some, maybe I think of him more as someone that can contribute more from a moral perspective at this point, as a philosophical, and that his direct predictions of the fall of capitalism, while there may be a little bit of there in a long term, he didn't realize how resilient it would be in the short term, and so his political project ended up being massively in error because he wanted to jump straight to some end state, and while there may be some there, this is me coming to terms with the fact that maybe I shouldn't be a communist, but I do think there may be some sort of end state there where, as historical or material conditions, allow for a system that resembles some of his predictions, maybe we'll get there. But yeah,
I guess I'm
not
really
sure where to go from there.
Yeah. I'm not really sure like how much Marx contributed to like the tools or whatever we had, or like even a kind of broad understanding. Like there were, economists, quote unquote, like before him, like, like John Stuart Mill wrote a decent amount about like economics, and I haven't read much of him and myself, but like I've read for example like Tyler Cohen has a book about like who is the GOAT of economics, and one of the people he considers is John Stuart Mill. And he writes in there like, John Stuart Mill was like sort of using like proxies of a lot of like the sort of causal inference like mechanisms that we have have today, trying to compare to the counterfactual, right? Trying to, as well as trying to understand some like theoretical stuff about, markets and such. Even Jeremy Bentham as well, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a big utilitarian dude, kind of not like, he's the founder of sort of more modern utilitarianism, right? There's always been utilitarian ideas broadly forever, but founder of more modern stuff. He wrote a decent amount about economics as well, not as much as Mills or anything. So, and he was before John Stuart Mill. So I think there are other people like that who contributed as well, probably more. And then I think I'm gonna like I've seen you talk a little bit to Ryan and Connor about this like last week. I'm not gonna disagree with you on some of the sort of kind of more moral questions about like whether or not like property rights ought like fundamentally be protected, right? Like I think something both Connor and Ryan agree to is that like property rights are just kind of like an intrinsically important thing. Like it is just intrinsically morally important to protect property rights. And I don't know exactly Connor's position, but I know for Ryan,
an almost inviolable degree where they shouldn't be amended except in the most extreme circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ryan will say like, you shouldn't abolish property rights even if it leads to like a million times more happiness in the world, right? Like he said that in his conversation with Convoy. He said like similar things to me, because it's just like very intrinsically morally important. Like it just is wrong to do that. So I think Connor would have a different answer on that, but he certainly values that like intrinsically as well. I don't really do that, but I do think property rights are like instrumentally useful in that like having a system of property rights and of private ownership tends to lead to good outcomes. And I think like you see evidence of that, for example, in like Japan. We have a study comparing like prior to World War II, they gave some islands like property rights and like codified laws about how to buy it and transfer it and such. And some other islands were like delayed in getting that until the end of the war. So we have like decent identification there where we can try to suss out the effects of private markets on similar types of, the places. And it seems like private markets do lead to more efficient outcomes. They do lead to more economic growth, right? And then there's like similar-ish things with regards to, like I mentioned, some of the things about like public versus private ownership. I haven't done a deep dive. There's economists who can test this, but from my reading of the evidence, it seems to be the case that like most state-owned enterprises, at least like directly state-owned enterprises, maybe not necessarily like sovereign wealth funds or Convoy model stuff, but they just like tend to be more inefficient than equivalent private alternatives, or what we think the counterfactual would be if they are private. I was talking about the study earlier today with regards to airlines. Like there's a study going over like private versus public ownership of airports, and they found that like even there's what's called like a concession style arrangement where like the government will own the airport itself, but will sort of lease it out to a profit maximizing company. So that way, the actual managers of the airport still have a profit incentive and such. It's just the government is collecting rent from them essentially. And they find that like even totally private airports outperform that type of arrangement. So probably there's just kind of good kind of benefits from having this institutional arrangement, even if I don't view it as intrinsically important. And, I would abolish property rights to make the world a million times happier.
Yeah, you'd be willing to take that step if we at least knew that it was a pragmatic decision that had results, right? There's no rule underneath that. You're not saying it's good in and of itself. If there was a better solution, then you'd be up for it. And so yeah.
And I think that gives
that's
me
where
like,
I'm kind of living too. Yeah,
it gives me, I say it gives me more freedom or whatever, but it also leads to certain beliefs I have on like what should be to some degree socialized. I flip back and forth on some things or whatever, like how expansive our public healthcare system should be. But like I do think kind of fundamentally you're gonna have to have some type of public, if not literally insurance, like at least implicit insurance. I think that's kind of, if you look at like a lot of Republican plans,
sort of social backstop, even if it's not in the form of insurance.
Like if you look at like a lot of Republican
medical
plans,
bankruptcy, that sort of thing could even be some layer of considered that, right?
Even Republican plans for healthcare that are like the sort of individualized like savings account or whatever, basically all of them include some type of essentially implicit insurance by offering some type of like catastrophic care coverage, and like that is just a kind of implicit way to pool money and spend it on people who have
you don't call it insurance, As long as you can get covered and at the emergency room, that's some sort of insurance on some level.
Yeah. And so that gives me more freedom to think about things like that. Think about central banks and government probably should do something to try to smooth out the business cycle. I don't necessarily know what the best option is there, but it seems like free banking is not the best idea, nor is no deficit spending ever, right? I think it probably makes sense to have a central bank. I think it probably makes sense to have the government, in some cases, deficit spend during a recession. But overall, I think there's reasons to be skeptical of having significant shares of the economy socially owned or having significant shares of the economy taxed, at least depending on exactly kind of what you're taxing.
Okay. So you are open to a significant amount of welfare spending and that sort of thing. You know what? I was reading. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, I think welfare is probably the issue where I'm probably most progressive in that, in the sense that I would probably have a decently high share of GDP be transfer payments, because I think a lot of the issues that people seek to address with other types of policies, I would seek to address with transfers. So obviously unions or whatever, a lot of stuff is meant to increase worker power, make the working man better off. I think transfers are probably a better way of kind of doing that. So I think, probably, I don't know exactly.
Transfers, you mean wealth transfer from tax bases, etc.
I mean, yeah, government transfers. Yeah. I mean, it's, wealth transfers makes it sound so evil, but yeah.
It's too commie coded for y'all. I get it. I understand.
Exactly. Well,
I'll stay in my corner with my ball.
Probably the transfers I most support are kind of what I call horizontal redistribution rather than vertical redistribution. So people think of government spending, government transfers, and all these tax programs as essentially taking from the rich and giving to the poor or whatever. And there's some degree in truth of that. We do have a progressive tax system in the U.S. Obviously, we do that to some extent. But we also have things like Social Security tax, even Medicare, Medicaid to some extent. There's a little bit of difference there because some people consume a lot more healthcare than others. A lot of these taxes either distribute, smooth your own consumption over your own lifetime, or redistribute to similar people to you, even if some of your Medicaid payroll check is just going to someone pretty close to you, but an income level and everything, but happens to have a health issue that Medicaid or Medicare is covering. A lot of the redistribution we do is that type of horizontal redistribution. I think there's probably a stronger case for that than more strictly speaking redistribution for the sake of just having a more equal society.
What would you want for a minimum healthcare guarantee or welfare spending like that? Where are you at nowadays? What seems reasonable, but perhaps we can push forward with it to help people?
On healthcare, so in some sense, I probably support a public option because I think it's rather silly that in the U.S. we have a lot of different agencies kind of doing similar things in different ways. So the VA gives veterans health care, and they do it through actually owning the hospitals. There's some 500,000 VA employees or whatever, because all the nurses work for the VA technically, right? And I think it's just silly to have a whole program that is only dedicated to, I don't think it's exclusively veterans, but mostly veterans, obviously. And then and have that be directly run by the government. But then we have Medicaid, which really only does poor people, and that's done publicly, but it's just insurance. They don't actually own the hospital or anything. But then also sometimes we contract it out. We do
back through the market because of that, and in a way that keeps that efficiency of.
I think I think there is. So one of the things there is evidence, for example, Medicare Advantage, which is the contracted out private insurance that we subsidize with Medicare. That there is actually evidence that kind of performs better for patients than strictly public health care, normal Medicaid, Medicare. So I think there is evidence for that of private insurance being more competitive there. But I'm just saying it's kind of stupid that we have a bunch of different systems for a bunch of different types of people, and none of them are particularly efficient. And it'd probably be better just to lump it all into one public option, right? Like, I think the same argument people make about the administrative cost of private health insurance, right? Oh, we have so much administrative costs because there were so many different private insurers doing all this admin work. It'd be less admin work if we just had one insurer, right? Or one large government insurer and maybe a few private ones for the very rich people. You can kind of make the same argument for why do we have a bunch of different agencies giving healthcare to slightly different people in a bunch of different ways? Like, probably you just want a more standardized system for dealing with that. And that would include probably essentially universal catastrophic health insurance, or at least implicit health insurance. You could do like, I'm not sure I care that much if it's like cash transfers to people with like pre-existing conditions versus simply like insurance that in effect operates the same way as cash transfers to low-income individuals or people with pre-existing conditions. But universal catastrophic care, essentially, at least implicitly, and then some type of progressive phase out. That's a weird way of phrasing it. Some type of like phase out as you get higher in income, you get, less government benefits and have to start relying more on private health insurance.
All right. Let's see what else we have on the agenda here. You know what? I'm going to give you. I sent you a permanent link so that you can give it to your chat if anybody wants to call in. We're going to open up to call in soon. If you call in and Nonfon likes your call, he can award you up to 1,000 Griff coin to spend on the server in our games, etc. And a little bit later, we're going to be playing some more games, Podcaster, Prisoner, President, and we've also gotten together a game. Why don't you play the new game sound for us,
well,
Kyle?
We can't play the game sound until we play the game. The game is called Make James and Kyle Say the Thing. It's very much as it's called. You and an opponent, a caller in this case, will be attempting to use one-word prompts to make James or myself, depending on who you get paired with, say a particular word. It's much like the game show Password, if you remember that game. So yes,
with a much better title.
I think so, indeed. So yes, we'll be having call-ins shortly, and yes, we could award you in Griftcoin. However, we have an exciting new announcement here in the Marketplace of Ideas. We do have a fake stock market on the Marketplace of Ideas where you can invest in different ideologies, and for the first time ever, Nonfon, I don't know if we told you about this, so hopefully you're okay with it. We have unveiled our first creator stock. You can invest in Nonfon or NONF. In our fake stock market. We are going to be introducing creator stocks as we have more guests on the show, and the idea is that as the show continues, the creators will be competing for a top spot on the stock board. So if you want to take that Grift coin and put it straight into Nonfon, we could just give you the Nonfon token right off the bat.
Inflate Nonfon's value and his ego until he's
Let's go. Hashtag
well, actually,
pump
he
Nonfon.
is our most valued creator on the board right now.
Let's go.
He is the only creator stock available.
Oh, let's go.
You have a market monopoly today, Nonfon.
Yeah, let's go.
And
check it out. There's a shrimp there for your creator stock NONF, and you can buy some wonderful shrimps.
Let's go. Hell yeah.
James, you had a few more economic bones to pick with Nonfon, or are we moving on to the games post haste?
I thought it just occurred to me to get people ready to call in at some point, so that's why I was taking this little offshoot here to talk about the marketplace functions and everything.
No, beautifully timed, beautifully timed. That being said, I need to blow my nose and get something to drink, so could I ask you to hold the fort for a moment?
You bet.
Very good. I'll be back in a few.
Oh, let me bring up my list here. Okay, so we've talked a little bit. I think, okay, let's get into MMT. Is there any promise in MMT? This came to my mind when I was reading your Discord name, and it was saying that you were a pro-inflationary liberal elite or something close to that. Are you pro-inflation? What is the function of inflation in a healthy economy?
That description is the like opening for the Bernie Sanders page on Conservapedia.
Oh gosh,
I just thought it. Great. I thought that website is pure gold. I thought it was funny. I don't think
Is that
there's
purely
like
in jest? There is some amount of positive benefit to having some amount of inflation, right? It gets people to invest. It gives value to like taxes in some degree, right?
kinda. I mean, I think probably the actual kind of justification is it keeps nominal interest rates higher, and that essentially can supposedly at least help prevent a liquidity trap from happening where like essentially we worry about when nominal interest rates go to zero. The Federal Reserve kind of can't really cut interest rates anymore. They have to go to more unorthodox tools like quantitative easing, and there's debates about how kind of effective that is. So we want to keep nominal interest rates higher. Now, if you think sort of the thing called the Fisher equation, it's pretty simple to understand. The nominal interest rate is equal to, the real interest rate is equal to the expected inflation rate or the nominal interest rate minus the expected inflation rate. So if you want, a 5% real return on something, and you expect the inflation rate over the period of the loan or whatever to be 2%, you probably want to actually set the interest rate at 7% because you're baking into your estimate, the 2% expected inflation. So by having the 2% inflation target, we're essentially trying to always keep the nominal interest rate the higher, so that we avoid an issue where interest rates go to zero and the Federal Reserve can't really do much to control the economy at that point. Supposedly, they do have other tools that they can use, and they are arguably effective in some manner, but that's probably the biggest reason we do it.
Okay. So what I'm garnering from this is that was a sarcastic statement, not a you're not actually a pro inflationist.
I mean, I
was hoping for that to be an into a conversation on modern monetary theory, where, perhaps there is a solution to this equation where it's okay to print a certain amount of money as long as all other things stay stable.
Sure. We can talk about that too, obviously. I think
I almost feel like we're saying
pro-inflationist.
entirely too many numbers and economic theories for the average viewer to have any idea what the fuck we're talking about.
I think
I'm struggling to follow it in many ways,
sure.
Mainly just because I didn't get enough sleep. So there's a lot of highfalutin concepts flying my way. But yeah, what do you think?
None of my takes are going to be like super high credence on this, but my view as of now is probably that inflation itself is not really what matters, but nominal income growth probably does matter. And you can think of, GDP is also equal to income. Everything bought in the economy is sold to someone. It's someone's income, obviously. So GDP is equal to our total income. There's something called nominal GDP. That's just GDP in current dollar amounts, right? Not adjusted for inflation. And, nominal GDP is equal to nominal income. So nominal income growth probably matters because that how easy it is to pay your debt is affected by nominal income growth. And if you expect your nominal income to grow by 5% because you probably expect a 3% return and you expect 2% inflation, if suddenly we see nominal income fall, if nominal income even just it goes to zero, you're 5% below your ability to repay that loan, right? So your business or you personally are put in a tough situation there, and that essentially can cause some type of what's called like debt deflation model, where that dynamic can essentially spiral, where because your nominal income decreases, you then will fire employees or whatever, and their income is going to decrease because of that, and that leads to a further downfall in demand. And I think what that arguably, again, not super high credence takes, there's a idea to fix this essentially called nominal GDP targeting. Essentially, the Federal Reserve, instead of committing to an inflation target, would essentially say, what are you going to have nominal GDP grow at 4% or 5% a year? So what this would allow is the inflation rate to sort of vary with productivity. Because in any given year, you probably have like about on average 2% real growth and 2% inflation, because we target 2% inflation, right? So nominal GDP targeting would allow, if we just had like really strong real growth one year, if we had 3% real growth, you'd only see 1% inflation. But if another year you had 0% real growth, you might see 4% inflation because you're keeping nominal income stable. I think it's probably better to have the inflation rate there vary with the productivity at the time than it is to just set it at 2%. But, you know, because that would still allow for us to kind of get the stimulus when we need it, but to not have the potential downside of just causing inflation for not necessarily a good reason.
Oh man, do you think there's any chance of it there, or is this just people wonking and wishing that they could find the key to unlimited spending? Is
There's
it
a
sort of a
pretty-
thing
well, I
where,
mean,
like,
it's-
theoretically it could definitely work, but in the real world it just spirals out of control and too many, you know, unoiled little new machines that you have to adjust for in this sort of planned economy almost to some
Well, the
degree?
Federal Reserve already has like this power. They already have control over the money
Sure,
supply.
yeah.
They already
Yeah.
decide the long run average inflation rate. Now we do have it.
We've always been fairly conservative, as conservative as we kind of can be.
Yeah, well,
we've defaulted to.
We do have the
except when we
dual
don't.
mandate. So, you know, by law, they have to care about inflation and unemployment. And maybe that might give them the leeway to just do NGDP targeting because they could just say, we view this target as consistent with both our goals. I'm not certain that would hold up to legal scrutiny, but I think it probably would. But NGDP targeting is like, you know, a lot of economists support it. Even like, you know, Paul Krugman supports it, right? And Scott Sumner is a big supporter of it. He's a big market monetarist, and they tend to support that type of thing. Paul Krugman's obviously very very popular, probably the most famous economist, at least alive. And he has been in political administrations in the past. Mark Carney, who's the, I almost said CEO, Prime Minister of Canada right now, he used to work at England Central Bank, and he supported NGDP targeting as well. I don't know if he's commented on it since he's become Prime Minister, but like certainly it's not out of realm of possibility that, you know, if not Canada, some other country would do it. Israel doesn't explicitly target NGDP, but they, you know, obviously the Jewish people is going to have good central bankers. So, but they've kind of implicitly targeted NGDP. They had a central banker, Stanley Fisher, I think, who did very well during the 2008 recession because they kept NGDP growth stable.
Well, okay, let's get this a little bit out of the weeds and more into the real politics, because like it seems like the big problem right now is just how sweeping the claims are that are being made on the far wings. And is it even possible to have a winning campaign based off a rational economic theory right now? Or are we going to have to throw a little bit of red meat, even if it creates more problems, even if it gums up the works of the economy, and we might lose some efficiency and create some pain points? Do we have to sell those things just to compete with, you know, the right wing nonsense that's saying that we can just like tax the world with tariffs until they bend to our will, or, you know, we can just make you know, Mexico pay for the wall? You know, just these nonsense economic theories. Can a sensible economic policy even compete on the stage right now? Will the far left even allow that to be, you know, accepted, or are they going to say, well, there's not enough economic justice in your sort of more conservative than they want economic model?
I think
do you think you
no,
can craft something that will win?
not for my exact policy decisions, but I don't think there's any way that like you can be that popular without doing some type of like pseudo populist messaging. It seems like people do really like a fucking us versus them narrative type thing. Now, I don't think that necessarily has to play into like the worst, you know, types of populism. I think you can do it against like very valid concerns about like, you know, Trump's corruption, and to some extent people do this. John Ossoff does it to some extent. I don't necessarily like the rest of the stuff he does, because he talks a lot about the corruption in big pharma and stuff like that, and that's frustrating and I don't think true. But, you know, there are genuine things where you can campaign on like a populist anti-corruption message, where you can campaign on like affordability and say, oh, these tariffs are so, you know, so bad and they're causing everything to be super expensive, and like there's genuine truth in that, and it's at least it has the potential to be popular with people who are open to that type of messaging. I don't know.
So maybe economics is the place that you go for that raw red meat politics. You know, we find the other issues that we can work on. I do think that it's going to be tough to get a winning message out there if you don't go populist on the economy, because right now the economy is such a big issue, and it's going to have to fight against other populist messaging. We might be able to just squeak by on Republicans very bad, and because there's so much popular sentiment right now. I
think, again, I don't know necessarily if this will do better than the more extreme populist messaging, but certainly like you can also connect the affordability issues with tariffs to the potential corruption they allow, if certain deals Trump and his family have gotten with regards to the tariffs, the potential insider trading with regards to some of the announcements, right, that he's made about pausing or reinstating them. So there's a connection you can make there as well that's probably appealing. And then even things that are somewhat wonky, like tax policy stuff, I doubt this would ever do as well as the more extreme populist stuff. But like, for example, a VAT is a like consumption tax that people probably, if you explained it to them bluntly, okay, well, it probably would not like. But like, one of the good things about VAT is that it has a very high compliance rate, because essentially companies have to kind of upfront pay the VAT when they buy inputs, but they get a rebate if they fill out the paperwork. That explains as an business input or whatever, and they can claim it as a rebate. So that's the thing you could frame as
the rebate, the individual or the company. You said
the company,
the individual.
So a VAT, the end burden will be on the consumer, but like at every step along the supply chain, companies will have to pay someone a VAT up front.
It gets factored into the gotcha.
Yeah. So the end burden is on consumer. Ideally, a VAT on net burden is like identical to a traditional sales tax. In reality, sales tax it does a worse job at like avoiding taxing business to business transactions. That's another benefit to VAT, is it wouldn't really do that.
And add additional taxes up the supply chain, sort of thing, right? But
the end burden is only on the consumer, almost. At least ideally. Ideally, again, the end. Yeah. So, that's something you could frame as like, oh, we're avoiding, tax avoidance. Corporations shouldn't be able to avoid tax like this, and having it be destination based too, essentially taxing based on where the good is consumed rather than like, origin based, like we have with most of our taxes, where Apple can have some of their company like headquartered in Ireland and avoid taxes because technically they're an Irish company, and they should only have to pay Irish taxes, right? You can avoid issues like with that, like with a VAT or any destination-based tax, and that's another thing you can frame as
because it's at the point of consumption, sort of, and so it'll
it's
knock
where
back
essentially
through that entire chain.
Yeah, essentially
where taxes would end up being paid.
Where the good is consumed is where it's taxed at. Like one of the things, I think actually I believe Trump has called this out before. Like VATs, they don't tax exports. So if a company exports something with a VAT, they get a rebate for exporting. That's part of the destination based part. So imports are taxed the same as any other good there, right? So if I import something in a country with VAT, I have to pay a VAT on that import, just the same as I would have to pay a VAT on any domestic good consumed, right? Because it's taxed based on where it's consumed. If a company exports something, they do what's called zero rating, where they get a rebate for the VAT for selling it to a foreign country, so they don't end up paying any tax on that.
All right. So to help me decide whether or not I'm for or against VAT, is Trump for or against VAT?
I mean, he should, if you explain it to him, he might be for it. Because, well, if you really explain it to him, he probably wouldn't be for it. But if you explain it to him in dumb terms, he might be for it. Because technically, when you think about it, VAT is just like 10% tariff on everyone, right? I mean, you're tariffing the entire world at 10%. Any good that comes in here, you're taxing at 10%. Now,
well, and it also does
in reality.
I haven't thought about this as much. Would it sort of be? Would it work both sort of progressively but also fairly, in as much as the more you are consuming, the more you are then taxed, and therefore the lower end consumers will not be taxed outside of how much they're consuming, right? And so it would simultaneously be on some level fair, but also progressive in that those who have the most ability to consume and spend will be then taxed more.
Not necessarily, because again, I mean, VAT again net burden is equivalent to the sales tax. So just the same way, sales tax is like regressive because one, poor people like consume they consume a higher percentage of their income, right, than rich people do, because rich people save a lot more money. They don't spend 100% of their income just trying to make by. And then two, essentially, the flat amount that you add is going to be a higher percentage at a poor person's income than it is of the rich person's income. So both of those things would make it regressive. Like VAT would be.
Are you okay with that? Are you okay with a quote unquote regressive tax policy?
I mean, you could obviously have a tax system. We kind of do this already, where some parts of it are regressive and some parts of it are progressive. And most proposals for a VAT would be a VAT with rebates or with transfers to essentially offset it for the lowest income consumers. But I think the efficiency gains in terms of like tax avoidance, getting rid of that, and just having a sort of non-distortionary tax, right? You don't really want to be distorting the decisions about, for example, what makes it different from, one of the things that makes it different from tariffs is that, you're not distorting whether or not people buy a foreign good or domestic good. They both, the relative price of them both increases by the same percent of whatever the VAT is. People just might consume a little bit less overall because it's more expensive, but it's not distortionary in that manner. You have a very broad tax base, essentially all consumption. Now, in reality, in the real world with political constraints, if you look at most countries with VATs, they exclude food or they exclude some other stuff. But broadly, it's a broad base.
So how would you have it be non-regressive? Could you do it in something as simple as just like a VAT initial tax credit, so that people below a certain amount of spending effectively don't feel the cost of it, or what? How would that work? How would you make it less regressive?
I'm not sure what my optimal policy would be, but like just generally you would do some type of like, either just essentially have like, a really high like standard deduction, for example, such that like you're on net kind of just not paying tax if you're in a low enough bracket that you're spending a lot of money with VAT, so you can offset it that way. Or you could do some type of more explicit kind of transfer from the government. And, whether that be, I probably prefer like mostly cash transfers or like mostly maybe refundable tax credits. But you could also you could do in-kind transfers if you wanted to, right? If you're taxing someone 5%, 10% on all the food they buy, but you're also providing them food stamps, on net, they might come out on top from that still, because of the in-kind benefits they're getting.
Credit, sorry. When you talk about a refundable tax credit like that, doesn't that sort of create an amount of friction on the poorer people? Or could you make it like a monthly tax credit, sort of like they did with the child tax the other?
Yeah, I would want to administer it with as low administrative costs as possible. So that might look like a monthly payment in the same way we did like it with a child tax credit.
Okay.
I'm not sure politically would be feasible, but ideally probably.
What about a Andrew Yang style $1,000 a month non-means tested universal basic income funded by VAT taxes? What do you think about that?
Let's get into it.
That'd be base. Let's go.
Just base.
I mean, ideally,
no notes?
Ideally
for a Yang ganger.
I mean, I think I'm not sure I'm necessarily a Yang ganger, but I think a lot of decent ideas about UBI and the administrative efficiency of that stuff. And I think he was I'm not sure, he probably goes further than I would, but obviously I think his views on AI or whatever he's bragging about now, he's like, I fucking warned you guys, I fucking warned you. But so maybe I don't know, maybe he was right, maybe he had some incredible foresight. I'm not sure about that, but I think ideally, though, the kind of policies I'm talking about are going to be like on net the same with regards to after tax income. They just might differ in administrative costs. So like there's a good example by Greg Mankiw who I can pull up, but essentially you can imagine a tax system that does like for any tax system that is has like progressive taxes and progressive transfers. There is a flat tax and flat transfer alternative tax system that will literally have the same outcome on net with regards to the change in after tax income. So with regards to the change in how many benefits you get from the government versus how much you pay in taxes. I can pull up the exact example at some point.
So generally, you are like open to the idea of a UBI. You don't think it would have any sort of massively inflationary effect, as many people have predicted. You know, the Reddit
Well, I mean, it would.
reaction to it is, oh, if you give everyone $1,000 a month, then rent goes up by $1,000 every month, and then we're back to square one.
I mean, again, the UBI is kind of as expensive or as cheap as you want, right? So you could make a UBI have essentially the same effects as a $10 transfer to like the bottom 1% of the population. You know, you just give every fucking homeless person $10, right? Because you could just tax the UBI back, right? And there's going to be like administrative costs of that. That's not going to be politically feasible at all. But any type of UBI you can design in such a way to be identical to just giving a very low benefit to someone. So here's the example. We have option 1, a means-tested transfer of $1,000 a month to those with zero income, phased out by 20 cents for each dollar of income recipients earn, and financed by progressive income tax of 20% on all income above $60,000. And we have option 2, a universal basic income benefit of $1,000 and a month is $1,000 a month to everyone, financed by 20% flat tax on income. But if you look at the change in after-tax income, both of those end up the exact same. Everyone is going to face the same effective tax rate, marginal effective tax rate of 20%, and they're going to have the exact same after-tax income at the end of it.
Yeah, but you could show this to, you know, dozens of people, and they'd all choose A or B, not realizing they're effectively equal at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's part of the.
We could probably get them to do a whole Twitter online red button, blue button argument, and I don't know if you've ran into that one.
I have.
And just spark up a whole war, not realizing that at the end of the day they work out. It's the same process written, you know, explained differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Greg Mankiw uses it as a he uses that as an example of like why you should think like an economist, and he gives the example of he teaches at Harvard, at least did, and you know, he gives the example in the debate that he had about wealth taxes that like even most of his econ students preferred option A to B because it was more progressive. When, you know, if you look at the change in after tax income, it's actually the same. Which, like, you know, to be fair, most of them probably, you know, did not do the math in their head at the time or anything, but
yeah, it's just how you phrase it. Yeah, there's a million little issues like this where just the way you phrase it, even if you're saying the same thing, you know, like if you said the child earned income tax credit or whatever it was, if you just said we're gonna give money to poor parents or we're to parents, like if you just say it in a dumb way, it could absolutely wipe out the support for the program versus, you know,
right.
if you just use the right imagery and talk about helping struggling, you know, parents and you know, there's that great fact of like it raised 30% of kids or something like that instantly out of child poverty. I think we could have kept some of the grounds in the Senate if we would have harped on that harder during the early Biden years, you know. Like I was someone for whom that during that inflationary period, that earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, was something that made a difference in the bills. You know, I'm someone who has lived very close to the poverty. Well, I've been under the poverty line the whole time. I've been in the poverty land the whole time, but close to just the struggling to stay, you know, in the game, you know, off the streets at some time. So, you know, it's a tough world out there, and I understand why people want these big solutions that say everybody was going to get everything they want, and it's going to be easy, and we're going to have the rest of the world pay for it, and it's not gonna hurt us a bit, and we're gonna renegotiate and reshore and make money off of the tariffs, and the tariffs aren't gonna be inflationary to cost on any level.
I will say I'm
God,
not.
What a difficult world.
I'm not certain of the exact effects of the child tax credit on child poverty. My understanding is it did go down a lot, but I'm not. I got a hedge. Okay, I got a hedge in case any of my neolib chatters disagree with that one. I'm not sure what they. best identified evidence on that.
The
But
deep state is lurking in your chat and ready to pounce to correct you on your neoliberal talking points at any moment.
obviously,
Yeah, meanwhile,
I will
in
say
our
there's
chat,
something.
We've got,
Fuck, there was something else I wanted to say. I totally forgot. Damn it. I'll remember it. Maybe.
while we're talking about our chats, though, we don't seem to have any neolibs in ours. We've got Joseph Stalin returning from last week's episode to offer all sorts of criticisms about trickle-down economics, reliance on fiat currency, and then Localist Party antagonizing us some more, saying,
Of course.
when do the good questions come? I told you there weren't going to be any. We've covered that already.
He's
Our
only
chat currently
he's
is
only
like
interested in
horseshoe theory
localism.
incarnate.
Yeah, let's go.
Our chat is horseshoe theory acting itself out.
We are getting it from both ends.
Yeah, there's like three things localist cares about. It's like subsidiarity, nullification, and for some reason it's also like brain broken on like gay and trans issues, but he doesn't talk about that one as much, to be fair.
You know what? I think he's right. We have been far too reasonable and rational and had far too intelligent of a conversation this evening.
True.
And I think we should play some more games here in a moment.
Indeed.
I sent you a non-fun. I sent you a link if you want to post it in chat if you want to help us try and get some callers for later. But what do you think, Kyle? Can we move into podcaster, prisoner, president?
I think now's as good a time as any, and I will say to any of our chatters, if you'd like to join us and you're not on our Discord for some reason, we've got a Discord
Then
link
what's wrong
in the
with you?
description. What the hell's the matter with you? Click on the Discord link and come join. Now, James, let's not get too unhinged. We don't want to scare them away.
I will.
But no, we got to be careful now. We need
Don't
all
be
the
careful.
viewers we can get.
Say mean things.
we'll say mean things. That's how we get the clicks.
We don't fucking need you. Tune out, okay? Turn off this.
Pay no attention to this man. We need you very much, and we appreciate you greatly. Even if you want to call us morons, we love it all the same. Click on our Discord link. Come join us in the waiting room, and we will pull you in to have a chat with you. If you're watching on
tonight, yeah, you have two options. You could have yourself a little. If you have some questions for non-fun, if you want to. You know what? If one of you fellow commies in chat want to come thrash his neoliberalism, please do. And you can win some grift coin that way, because we know you commies love money deep down inside. But also, you could play make James and Kyle guess the thing. What a fantastic game.
And if you're watching from non-fun stream, as you click on the Discord link, you might also check out our YouTube channel. Maybe give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to help us out in the algorithm. That would be much appreciated. And if of course, if you are watching on our stream and you're not subscribed to Non-Fon's channel, please do so. You can find him on YouTube as well. Non-Fun, where else can they find you?
We actually do have an audience to offer you now, Non-Fun. We're not just leeches
go.
now. People show up for our streams.
Let's go, yeah. Twitch, Kick, and Twitter at NonFun420, and yeah, YouTube at NonFun, where all my a bunch of my old debates are. You can go watch.
Beautiful. Before we launch into the games, we've already got somebody in the waiting room. Shall we make them wait longer while we play a round of Podcaster Prisoner?
Oh no, get him in here. Get him in here.
Very well. We've got Rin joining us from the waiting room. Rin, welcome to the show.
Oh,
Thanks
it's
for joining
localist.
us.
I knew it was gonna be localist.
Oh,
beautiful.
What's up, buddy?
Dude, not fun. I thought you made some great points about I thought you made great points about I thought you made good points about revenue, taxes, and giving the government more money. I thought that was some great points about I think they need more money than ever now. We should tax them more.
You don't think it should have any money, right? You don't think the federal government should exist at all? You would prefer it should just be gone?
It's a good idea. Deal.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't tell how many layers of irony we were operating under there, but I see through some of them now. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great idea to talk about ways we can give them more money.
But you're just opposed on a fundamental level to the federal government even existing because you don't believe in a American national identity. You don't even believe we should be a nation, right?
That's not why.
Obviously, that is a reason why.
No, it's because the Constitution's been violated beyond all repair and recourse. Non-fun. We all know this.
Crazy.
Sure. I know. Wait, hang on a minute. I know that you two have I mean, an onion's worth of layers of lore between the conversations you've had. Help us catch up a little bit. So
Yeah.
It's localist or Rin or whichever name you prefer. You're on Discord. We'll call you Rin. Rin, when it comes to this criticism that you don't support central government at all, you want us to just go to independent city states. Is that actually a fair criticism of your position?
That's a straw man.
Straw man. Okay. How would you describe? How would you describe your position?
I believe that the U.S. federal government has usurped near all of the power that it exercised. Like 90% of it, 90% of what it does now would be considered unconstitutional by the people who ratified it.
Yes or no? Do you still consider the Air Force to be unconstitutional?
I don't know. I haven't.
You don't know. Really do you agree that you said yes to that question before? That you agreed that under your view the Air Force was unconstitutional?
You could call it unconstitutional.
I'm asking if it was. I'm asking if it was at one point in your view that the Air Force was in fact unconstitutional. As I believe
I would say yes.
Okay. Yes, you did. I believe I have it recorded. I might not. It might have been a non-recorded conversation, but I just want to be clear. You know, when he says something like, you know, I think the federal government has usurped his power or whatever. He doesn't believe in any implied powers in the Constitution. He doesn't think the Air Force is constitutional because the Constitution doesn't say you can make an Air Force. It only says Congress has the authority
to unpack that. Do you
think the people who
wrote of room here? What grounds are you saying that the Constitution has just been completely overruled? Is there one major theory, or is there just a million little places that you think it's gone awry, and that there's no way to get back to it? You think the Supreme Court? Well, what kind of what I mean is what kind of laws, what kind of constitutional structure do you think has been violated specifically?
All of it.
Well, the limits of federal power are no longer determined by the Constitution, but by what the Supreme Court allows Congress to get away with. And that's been the problem that's allowed for 200 years of massive federal expansion. So, yeah, like now instead
isn't the Supreme Court built into the Constitution? Isn't that following the Constitution?
No. Well, what it does today is not what it's authorized to do in the Constitution, no.
So is your criticism just that they've sort of taken too much power and sort of legislated from the bench?
Not that. It's they've hijacked the entire Constitution and have been the limit of federal power instead of the Constitution. And so, the clauses in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, the powers of Congress no longer mean what they actually meant and how they were understood by the people who wrote and ratified them, and are now just determined on whatever the Supreme Court opinion is tomorrow.
Do you agree that under your view, localist, it would be determined by whatever the state Supreme Court's opinion is?
No.
Why not? Just to be clear, you believe that states have the right to nullify orders from the Supreme Court or laws from the federal government, correct?
I believe the states have the right to judge when the Constitution is infracted and to
so in your view, it's simply up to the states
resist the
Supreme
enforcement
Court's
of unconstitutional federal laws.
Okay, so in your view, isn't it just up to the states Supreme Courts what the Constitution means?
Not the Supreme Court of the state, no.
What do you mean? Then who's it up to? Who is it up to? Who's it up to within the state?
Adjudicated at some level.
Unless you're saying the state, maybe it's a state legislator, but it has the same issue.
Well, the real question is who exercises the sovereignty of a state, whether it's not
you said the Constitution's been destroyed or whatever because it's simply just up to the Supreme Court how to interpret it, right? I'm asking under your view, wouldn't it be the case that there's just going to be 50 different institutions that have differing interpretations of what the Constitution means, and at times could provoke conflict between the state and federal governments insofar as these things differ, right? I think that's a worse system than just having a Supreme Court essentially have the final say on what the interpretation of the Constitution is.
That is the cost of freedom and the cost of these states.
Are you conceding? Are you conceding that it would be? Are you conceding that it would be worse in terms of human welfare, and you're just okay with that because of some?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
okay.
Not.
So I don't know. You mean so? What is the cost there then? The cost is not a loss in human welfare. The cost is.
I don't know how those two things connect.
You said that's the cost for freedom. I was saying, in your view, you're going to have a problem where rather than one institution, being the final interpreter or whatever, it's just going to be 50 different institutions in the states giving their final interpretation, right? And I think that has, not only is there the same problem there where like the state Supreme Court could decide whatever they want, right? But there's also the issue of potentially some conflict existing between the federal and state governments insofar as they have differing views on the interpretation of the Constitution and both of their powers. And this is something that we had historically, right? Like with the nullification crisis.
There are problems built into both things, whether the constitutional review power is only in the Supreme Court or if it's also in this.
I agree there are problems built in both cases, but what you say is so bad, about the Supreme Court or whatever, or the current federal government, I just don't think is unique to the federal government. I don't think it's unique to the Supreme Court. And I think, again, under your system, we would have the potential for like federal state conflict that we haven't really seen.
I disagree, because when the Supreme Court acts, it affirms power. So it's like a positive grant of power 90% of the time these days. When a state nullifies a federal law, it's a negative, right? So it's saying that
I don't know if that know if that logically has to be the case, but regardless, obviously. I don't think. I mean, presumably a Supreme Court or like state level Supreme Court could rule that like there is a constitutionally protected right to something like abortion, right?
A state? No.
Why not? Why couldn't they? So wait. Under your view, explain to me why California couldn't say, we disagree with Roe v. Wade, or we disagree with this federal law banning abortion. Therefore, we are nullifying this order, nullifying this law, and we're not going to listen to that. Why couldn't the California Supreme Court say that under your view?
It's not the Supreme Court, but yes, they can. Like if there wasn't
okay, wait. So you agree
abortion law, then
you agree?
Law is null by the like. I'm fun. Are you gonna interrupt me all the time and just like talk like
Localist, you agree that like that is affirming a right, correct? You're affirming a right to seek an abortion. You're not like granting. I mean, you could frame it as a negative right, I guess. Like the government can't interfere with you having an abortion, but like just suppose, I guess they rule that you have a right to seek abortion and the government ought provide it. Like, couldn't you make that? Why can't California make that argument?
Because the whole the whole thing's predicated on that they are usurping powers that they do not have, not that they are doing something and it, and that the Constitution prohibits it.
I don't think that's responsive to the argument I'm making. You just said like not like nonsense. I don't think that's responsive to the claims I'm making. So one, you made the claim that when the Supreme Court rules, it's like necessarily affirming power. When a state nullifies something, it's necessarily not affirming power. I don't think that's the case, as demonstrated by the example of abortion. I think California, the Supreme Court could hypothetically rule in your system that not only do you have a right to seek abortion, which is to some degree is a positive right, like I think to some extent you disagree with Roe v. Wade because of that, and then two, that the government ought provide abortions to people, right? I mean, the government ought provide lawyers to people, right? Like that is a positive right that the Supreme Court has affirmed before. So like, I don't see why similarly you couldn't have other rights that state level governments affirm and nullify the order of nullify either a law banning that thing or an order of the Supreme Court saying that you can't do that.
Very interesting.
Do you concede that it is the case that states could like have affirmative power with the nullification thing?
What do you mean affirmative power? Like that they
as
are telling
you used that term earlier, right?
Well, yeah, like and what I mean by that is that if there is an unconstitutional law passed by Congress and it gets to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court is the final check and they do not strike it down, then that unconstitutional law is in effect, and so in that way, it is giving the federal government power that it doesn't have. So like it's, when a state is striking down a law, which is what we're saying is that they're striking down a law and saying that you do not have this power, we're striking it down, that is taking away. It's a negative, right? Not a positive. But
they could be striking down a law that bans the government from providing something, right? Again, with abortion. Let's say the government says,
the federal government
Let's say the federal government passes a law that's, I recognize in your views would be unconstitutional, but for the hypothetical, the federal government passes a law saying, states ought not have any abortion facilities in them. States cannot provide any funding for abortion. States cannot, there can be no abortion permitted in the U.S. and no organizations devoted to it, et cetera, et cetera. Why couldn't California nullify that law? Isn't that them?
They can.
Okay. So isn't that them having that like affirmative power?
What? See, now
I'm
like,
saying
so
that
you're
like
telling
when
me
you
that
when they quote unquote like nullify something, they're not necessarily like limiting the government's power in that sense or whatever. They're, in that case, they'd be granting the California state government more power. They'd be granting people a positive right to seek abortion and have it paid for or whatever.
Yeah, you're losing me a little bit here now.
Okay.
Is the crux of the dispute just this definition of what a negative right or a
No,
right is?
No, that's much deeper thing.
No, I know. No, I wasn't using those words in that context. But
it's going a little bit into the weeds. It's basically
it is in the weeds.
It's complicated. You know what? Maybe we should stop allowing poor non-fun to get one guide by someone. Do you have any anything you'd like to add to the end of this? And then instead of just having these two people hate on each other once more, let's bring some peace and let's have them play P3, podcaster, prisoner, present together, and let's bring some peace between these two feuding factions. Do you have anything you'd like to wrap up your opinions there with, Rin?
Well, it feels bad to wrap up, when
Okay. Well, we can let you go a little bit more, but just know that we're gonna have some fun afterwards, and we're gonna get past this argument. But let's let you guys go on for a little bit more. No. I mean, it's a tough one to discuss without getting into the weeds. It's a complicated way to look at things. It seems to me like you just have a general criticism of not necessarily the structure, but the way it's coming out, or maybe there is just more to get into there. Okay, yeah. I just feel like this is a tough one to fully unpack here in a call, but please go at it a little bit more, and then we'll make peace by playing games together here in a moment.
What me and Non-Fun were really arguing about is who has the final right to judge the infractions of the federal government. Now, that wasn't the actual thing that I was asked or that we were talking about, which we were talking about, why do you believe the union should end? Which is that the Supreme Court has hijacked the Constitution, and the federal limits are no longer the Constitution's actual meaning and are subjectively determined by the Supreme Court, which is allowed the Congress to do things that are blatantly unconstitutional and expand powers in massive ways and break up the entire country and do everything that you see that you don't like is likely unconstitutional.
Wow.
Is that something that you would is that something that you would agree with?
No.
Not you, Non-Fun. I'm talking about the good people.
I think it's very complicated. I don't know if I buy into your concepts here very much. Like, it seems like the general disagreement you guys are having is it's something we settled between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. It seems like the states do not and ought not have the power by the government we agreed to. I don't know.
So
I could be
no right to
sympathetic to your argument that like it's gone off the rails. Like a lot of people believe that, and I have some opinions and criticisms.
Well, but he believes it went off the rails in 1803. Like
yeah, exactly.
A little before that.
A little before that, even. Okay.
I mean, it was near immediately that we were having strict construction and loose construction arguments, right, with the First National Bank.
Wow, wasn't that after 1803?
I don't know when that was, but that
had to be after Marbury. I referenced 1803 because of Marbury v. Madison. The National Bank was after that, I thought.
The federal government's always been trying to do things that it's not allowed to do.
Okay, incredible.
I mean, to some degree, it seems like so long as the system holds and we have those the superstructure that makes the decisions, as long as we're all consenting to that and we follow those rules.
Well, that's the problem, is that we haven't, because the way that we consent to the federal government doing something is by delegation, right? We have delegated powers, which these states have, delegated to the federal government, and there's reserved powers, which they have to themselves. And when the federal government usurps a power that's not been delegated, that's not consent of the states and the people who the states represent. So when the Supreme Court starts telling the Congress it can do things that have not been delegated to it, then that's not consent. That's actually a direct violation of the consent of the government and makes the whole system illegitimate.
And which part of the Constitution do you think is being violated, so to speak?
Every single one.
Sure, but
one is Article 1, Section 8, which is the powers of Congress. All of those clauses have been reinterpreted to the Supreme Court and have been perverted to something which they do not mean. And the 10th Amendment.
I don't know. Is there like a single passage of the Constitution that you don't think the federal government is violating localist? I can't imagine anything unless like I don't know, like maybe like the Postal Service, I guess.
They tend to violate nearly anything in there because like even that post offices and post roads, that's their, which has been their justification for the interstate highway system. Right, federal control and federal funding of the interstate highway system has been justified by the ability to create post offices and post roads. So every single clause in the Constitution, the federal government has been violating and using to give it powers that it doesn't have.
Incredible.
Well, it seems as though we may have reached an impasse in the conversation, which is unfortunate. I wish we had more time to unpack the history between the two of you as you've batted these ideas back and forth. But
yeah, Rin, come hang out in our Discord and explain this shit to me because it's way too much for us to unpack right now. But I would
yeah, we need to do it without non-fun sometimes. Because
I think you're severely overestimating how smart this guy is.
Well, it'll be interesting to speak about it at the very least. These things are complicated, and I think it's important for us.
Localist, do you still think the 2020 election was stolen?
Uh-oh.
I think my erection was stolen in the 2020 election.
Nice answer. Let's go.
I think that's definitely true. I think that's what you guys are really mad about. Is
I think
your mojo got taken from you by a fucking idiot. Donald Trump's a fucking idiot.
Localist, do you think Tiger Woods should mow his own lawn, or are you still against that?
I think he should drive his own car and mow his own lawn.
Okay.
I mean, is this like a moral take, or is this just like?
No, it's an opportunity cost thing, right? Tiger Woods arguably should not mow his own lawn because he should be playing golf. Opportunity cost to him is simply too large, right? It just makes more sense for him to specialize in what he's really good at, what he gets paid for, playing golf, than spend his time mowing his lawn, which he's comparatively worse at compared to someone who specializes in mowing lawns.
Nobody should mow their lawn.
Localist is very big, though.
Specialized to do, and pay somebody who's specialized in mowing lawns.
Localist is very big on everyone doing as much as they humanly probably can themselves or with their very local community.
Non-con believes you should pay the best person who can fuck your wife.
True. Absolutely.
True. You know what? What a great way to end that bit of the conversation.
Just to be clear, I just want to
he's better anyway.
No, he gets 0. But I just want to be clear. He believes that
better, bigger anyway. He's better, bigger, faster, and everything.
To be clear,
I should be doing what I specialize.
Localist, you would, under your view, most people should be growing at least a majority of their own food, correct?
Wrong.
Wrong? How's that wrong?
I think a town should
do your own labor, though.
A town should produce. Okay.
Not most, as much as it can.
Okay, well then the people in that town should find the person that's best at mowing, and Tiger Woods should
exactly.
Wait, no, but then Tiger Woods can still pay him though.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to do it himself. He can still pay someone to do it.
That's true.
It's
almost like the entire
in the same town.
The entire thing that raised human standard of living is people shifting away from agriculture as we got more productive in that sector and shifting to other sectors.
Exactly.
And, doesn't care about the standard of living though. But
that's what's enabled our,
our wage dependency.
Yeah, non-Fon's a wage slavery guy. He likes wage slavery.
Let's go.
Well, there's a great Lincoln quote, something like, the only difference between wage slavery and child slavery is that one of those conditions ends. Soy Lincoln to the rescue. Well, thank you for calling in, Rin. We really appreciate it. I look forward to you expanding on your theories later in the Discord with me, because I do actually think that it's an interesting subject. Even if non-fun thinks you're a fucking idiot.
Well, non-fun just like asks questions. He doesn't like.
He railroaded. He was ready for it. You could see he was pent up and ready to fire off.
I make a point. You just like ask him like random questions.
He does this thing where if you watch a lot of our debates, you see it. I will essentially he'll like make a claim, and I will like try to refute that claim with him, and eventually we get to a point where yeah, so we'll get to a point where like we're making like a subclaim of a subclaim, and like we're providing evidence for that. And once he's like 2 layers down, his brain can't handle it, or he gets like backed into a corner, and like he just like
has a full dialogue
he just like refuses to answer. He accuses me of dialogue treeing. He accuses me of dialogue treeing because I don't think he can comprehend. He can't like comprehend going through stuff like claim by claim and like
brilliant. It's a brilliant, you know. It's just like really brilliant. Like you ask you ask a question, and then there's 2 answers, right? It's and then if you answer A, he has another, he has more questions, and then if you answer B, he has those specific questions.
Do you think I have this like just to be clear, localist? Do you think I have this like written down or some shit? Really?
It's in your notion.
Really, dog?
Writes everything in your notion.
Slaughter.
True. I do. I have a Notion page. I don't think I have it. I don't have any.
It's in Paint. Right I
have Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I answer this. If you answer
I have Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 open right now, bro. I'm not. There's no dialogue.
Yes, that was my favorite. Oh, what a great one! Classic, beautiful.
I'm sorry. Was the criticism there that non-fun has follow-up questions? I'm a little unclear.
Right.
He has pre-recorded follow-ups to every answer.
I don't.
And he makes it so you can only answer 2 things, not like A, B, and C. It's always A, B, and then whichever one he has like just pre-ready, like ready to fire up.
Do you actually believe that? They're like, because we've talked so many times, there are like things I know you're gonna say or whatever, and like I understand like the sort of reductios you hold, so I'm gonna lead you to the same reductio sometimes. But like, do you honestly think I have them written down or anything?
Of course, it's in your notion, and even if it's not in your, it's in your mind. It's written down in your mind. It's in your like.
That's just a system of logic.
Yeah. Also, you can't really criticize the guy for having practiced this conversation if you apparently repeat it on a regular basis. I mean, that just kind of comes with the territory. I
might have already thinking, but I appreciate $100.
Develops over time, is it not?
Yeah, like any consistent conversation he has, he'll have a pre-recorded answer.
If anyone wants to donate $50,
to try things out on, buddy. I appreciate you.
Real quick, my restream fucking payment failed. I'm broke as shit right now. I have the money, but I don't have the liquidity. It's tied up in YouTube and Twitch's payout thing till like next month. My restream's gonna expire. I need that shit not to expire. Someone drop $50 in the Streamlabs link, so I get that money immediately. Thank you.
That was the contentious conversation that we so desperately craved here on the Marketplace of Ideas. We're happy that Rin was able to provide it. If you would also like to call in and have a conversation as contentious as that one, or maybe even less so, we will have those call-in waiting list open for the time being. But for now, perhaps a round of a game that we've been enjoying.
One that's sweeping the nation.
It's my proudest achievement yet in life. It is a game that we call Podcaster, Prisoner, President.
Podcaster, Prisoner, President.
My God, what a great game. All right, so much as the name sounds, you may be familiar with the game Fuck, Marry, Kill. It's a very similar game to that, but we won't be talking about who we fuck. We will be talking about who we would like to put in charge of our country as the president, assuming that they will have the authority and restraints that come with that. We are going to be choosing who we would want to be a podcaster, that is somebody who is going to have a decent amount of outreach as far as espousing their ideologies to the public. And then we're going to be choosing who to put in prison, shutting them and their outreach down for good. Now, to be clear, I always add the caveat, we are not necessarily advocating for putting anybody in prison, unless it comes up that we actually would prefer them to go to prison. But we'll deal with that as it comes. Non-fun, are you ready for round 1 of our game?
I guess.
Beautiful. That's as good of an answer as I can hope for. So,
I think I'm going to have a tough time with some of these.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this category is going to be a little more... we've discussed at least one of these people earlier today. Andrew Yang, former Democratic candidate for president, Democratic candidate for the New York mayor, and at this point, I think he's got the Forward Party still going. We've also got Michael Bloomberg, actual former mayor, head of Bloomberg Media Group, or whatever their proper nomenclature would be, also former candidate for president. And then finally, we've got Gavin Newsom, the shifty, snaky person that nobody on the left actually trusts, even though he's apparently going to be the front runner in a couple of years. Nanfan, how would we rank these three individuals in these respective categories?
I honestly more like the thing I know most about Mike Bloomberg is fucking big gay ice cream, bro. I don't actually. That's it. That's what I remember him for, bro. And for him being like a billionaire, obviously people didn't like that.
Sure. It's a bad thing.
I think this is difficult. I think Andrew Yang would do a really good job as a podcaster, and I think he would do a pretty good job at
100%.
getting the effective message out there. So
you know, he's actually had a podcast. I don't know if he still does it, but I remember for a time he was doing one, and it was decent. It was decent, I will say.
Yeah. And this is difficult because I don't know how much I should factor in the the mogging that Gavin Newsom does, and the kind of messaging that he does, which is probably somewhat effective. I think if I'm not factoring that in all that much, I think I'm going Gavin Newsom prisoner and Mike Bloomberg president.
Oh no!
But
my goodness.
But
well,
he does.
Sorry,
Newsom,
this one.
Newsom does mog. He does look max. So maybe if I considered that, it would be different. But
as like a positive factor.
Yeah.
Well, if he were to factor in how good he is at mogging, then
listen,
it might be different.
You can have whatever adjudication for what would make somebody a good president that you want, but I mean, there certainly Newsom's had his good qualities policy-wise over the years. He was an early advocate for LGBT rights, and I think.
Yeah, but Mike Bloomberg literally big gay ice cream, bro. Like.
Fair.
You can't outwoke big gay ice cream, all right?
You know what? Maybe that's what seals it for him. So there we go. That's our first round in the books. Michael Bloomberg is the president. Andrew Yang has his podcast, and Gavin Newsom, unfortunately, stowed away in prison, unable to reach.
Michael Bloomberg gonna make the nation bigger, gayer, and creamier soon.
If only that was the future we could look forward to. All right, I don't see anybody hanging out in the waiting room, so I think that just means we've got to play another round. And
gosh darn it!
I know, right? I'm so well. It would be nice to have some callers, to be clear, but I do enjoy playing me some podcaster, prisoner, president. I'm gonna mix it up. It is May the 4th, and that is a very important day for Star Wars. And Nanfan, are you by chance a Star Wars fan?
I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan or anything, but I've seen the 9 movies plus Rogue One. I've seen as well. So.
Okay, well then hopefully you'll have some input for this round here as we move on to a new round in commemoration of this gorgeous day, May the 4th.
Nanfan claiming to have seen 9 of the 3 Star Wars movies. Right?
It's a hell of an accomplishment. I'm not sure how you pulled it off, but
impressive.
We will be acknowledging all of the movies in the canon, whether we like it or not.
Unfortunately.
That being said, for our first round, we've got 3 female protagonists. We've got Leia Organa, princess, politician, diplomat, and warrior when it needs to happen. We've got Padme Amidala, a well-celebrated politician from the sequel trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, pardon me. From the sequel trilogy, we have, representing the newer movies, Rey Palpatine, which is her actual name. I don't care what she says. That is what we're calling her. Who is not as experienced in the political field, but is certainly pretty good at using the Force, much to the chagrin of Star Wars fans around the world, mostly of a male persuasion. Nanfan, we've got 3 very capable women here. How do we sort them?
I think I'm putting Leia as president. I feel like she's got the most experience. Right. I feel like she's like she's very much characterized as a leader and as a I don't recall her like ever doing anything like selfish or anything. I think Padme has. I think Rey. I don't remember the sequel movie. I think Rey is probably worse than that.
Yeah, she's not known for her leadership, I don't believe. She's mostly known for being all of the Jedi, I think it was. I mean, shall we just? I mean, I don't want to
speak
I
for
think
you,
probably.
but...
I think probably it's the right decision.
What are you gonna do? You know.
Also,
you know, it's in the genes.
Descendant of Palpatine.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
exactly.
She might disown the name, but that doesn't take away the fact that she is genetically related to literal space Hitler. So I think that does
also just not as well socialized. So Padme's going to make a killer pod. She's knows diplomats throughout the galaxy. You know?
Oh yeah, no, Padme's going to put on a great show.
Padme's more of a like a drama queen. She's got a lot of drama going on. Rey kind of has drama too, but it's less interesting.
It is far less interesting. The drama slop from Padme about like, oh, she's seeing this Jedi, but we're not talking about it, even though we all know it's happening. That would be great content. I'm sure that she would pick up all sorts of snarkers and have a pretty successful show. So there we go. Sorted with the three main female protagonists of Star Wars. Leia is our president, Padme is our podcaster, and Rey is unfortunately relegated to prison. Well, moving on to round 3, back to something a little more serious,
from a galaxy near to here.
Indeed,
instead of far away.
The abundance liberal movement has gotten a certain amount of criticism from the further left, and we're going to be examining 3 folks who might be associated with that in some way. Perhaps mostly in this first person, we've got Ezra Klein. Is he still with Vice, or is that a formerly title?
I believe he's only with the New York Times now.
With the New York Times, yeah.
Oh, New York Times. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sell him short. Ezra Klein, author of I believe the book that started the whole movement, and then
co-author, right?
Co-author, right? Yes, with Derek Thompson, and then moving laterally, we've got Scott Galloway, a man who's achieved a certain amount of prominence in the media sphere as of late, and then we've also got Jon Favreau, famed writer of Barack Obama's speeches, I believe.
Kyle, I think I've spotted another error here we've made. I don't. Who's
wrong?
that on the right?
That's Jon.
Is that Jon Favreau? That's Jon Favreau.
That is Jon Favreau.
For sure, that is.
I googled it.
Is it Jon Favreau or is it the Jon Favreau?
I don't think that's the Jon Favreau. That's
How many Jon Favreaus could there be?
Yeah, only one famous
seems
one.
like at least 2.
That guy's on.
Well, I also found this guy. I don't know. Is that the right one? I wasn't sure.
That's the speech writer.
All right. Well, eventually we narrowed
down.
We'll
roll with this one.
I figured that one of these Jon Favreaus has to be the right one, and if you say it's this one, we'll go with it. But I'll just affirm that later for future rounds of the game. Anyway, now that we've got these 3 gentlemen properly in front of us, Non-Fon, how do we sort them?
Low key, I barely know anything about Jon Favreau. I don't think I don't know this dude like at all. Who's this dude?
Well,
speechwriter.
He's got a podcast. He's a speechwriter for Obama. I believe he is the Pod Save America host. Or if you're familiar with that podcast.
Oh wait, shit, no. Oh, now that you say that, I can recognize him now. Okay.
Now we're having flashbacks to the recent dramas, eh?
Yeah. Now Yeah. I recognize him.
Unfortunately, I very much on the pro let Hassan into the discourse.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I recognize
them. We know
him.
Communists are much like vampires in that once you let them in, they're allowed to come in and wreak havoc and suck the lifeblood out of your movement. So,
yeah, now that I know that. This is difficult, though. I've seen Scott Galloway give, I believe this is him, cringe takes on, Gen Z and how fucking bad they're doing and how they're all virgins and broken shit.
Very empathetic to our struggles, unlike you.
And I think that probably does. I don't like that. I don't like that rhetoric or anything. I don't think some of that's.
I think he usually does it. Oh, is it that bad? How bad is it? Sure.
Are we putting him behind bars? What? Okay.
There's a lot of different ways.
Let's go ahead. Let's just put Ezra Klein as president. Let's just get that out of the way. I think he's the best option for president out of these people. I think he's
okay. I was gonna say to me the thought ought to be
who's going to be the best president first. It seems like you have to maximize for that for me. But sometimes you just want someone to go to jail so bad that you'll let, fucking Jay Leno or whoever else is on the list be president just because you're like, we got to get this guy in jail.
And I think this is my thinking now that I got president out of the way. I think, because Ezra Klein's very, a political commentator, right? We don't need this Jon Favreau guy to do politics anymore. We got the fucking Ezra Klein doing everything. So we can just put him as prisoner. I think
Jon Favreau
might be controversial, but
I'm sorry, John.
No one's
I
gonna
love
be
you.
listening.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, they're not going to be listening to your podcast when Ezra Klein is doing the State of the Union, bro.
That's true. And Scott Galloway at least has the in with Kara Swisher to be, go along with the more tech-focused left, I suppose.
Let's go.
Very good. Well, there we have it. Ezra Klein leading our country. Scott Galloway still talking about things on the internet. And Jon Favreau, not a word to be heard from him as he rots away in prison. Beautiful.
Sad.
I'm looking again at the waiting room. It looks like we are once again bereft of guests. So... moving on to round 4. By the way, Non-Fun, once again, I'd like to thank you for being on the show. Do you have a hard out time that we'd like to respect? We will be ending by... Okay, well, very good. I hope that you're down for 2 more rounds of this lovely game that we've got here.
Sure.
3 more rounds. How many rounds have we done so far?
I think 3.
This is the 3rd, so I think we had 6, right? 3 and 3, Star Wars and Real World.
Well, I'm certainly down to play as much of this game as you'd like, but I don't want to exhaust anybody's attention for it. So, with that said, why don't we go ahead and get to another Star Wars option, perhaps. And for this one, we're going to be going a little bit deeper cuts, and we're going to be looking at some characters from the much maligned prequel trilogy from the 90s and early 2000s. So, here we have Sebulba, a champion podcast racer who's willing to do whatever it takes to win.
A podcast racer? A pod racer.
Incredible.
A pod racer. You know what? Maybe that's
the Pod Race podcast. Oh my God, it's perfectly.
Perhaps we will hear from him in the future if we put him as the podcaster. But can he stand up to Watto, the very money savvy Jedi resistant slaver, I believe he was, and to finish it off, Jar Jar Binks, everybody's favorite Star Wars character from the prequels. How do we sort these folks?
Oh no.
Well, I feel like Watto is the pretty easy prisoner.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Sebulba though, he's like a gangster racer dude.
He is, and he's a cheat also. Now you might say that we want.
He almost kills a child because of it.
He did almost kill a child.
Okay, Watto imprisoned that child.
He did, but here's
okay, Watto literally owned the child. Okay, good point. Not untrue.
Wait. Hang on. Owning children is not unprecedented for American presidents, first of all. Second of all, Watto is very financially savvy. Third, he resisted Qui-Gon's attempt to take over his mind and make him think that something that he didn't. I think that those are great qualities to have in a leader.
He seems pretty.
I hate to say we're making a great case for Watto as president.
The fiscal savviness, I feel like that's just. I mean, that's all dude to just read and bad qualities about him. I don't know.
Well,
I guess I don't know.
You know
I don't know.
Might think that those,
Sebulba
might. Yeah, no, I'll give you the final word, of course. I don't want to stomp on your opinions, Non-Fun, as you are our guest, but I wanted to at least make the case for Watto being.
Listen, maybe my opinions would change if I really got into the Sebulba lore, but I think Watto has got to be the prisoner. I think he's just not going to be good enough on.
Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. My goodness.
On anything to make up for the evil doings and bad qualities that he has.
Yeah.
Fair
Put
enough.
The child slaver in jail. I'm down with it.
Yeah, okay, fine. I guess you convinced me. I guess, are we putting Sebulba as podcast? I mean, he really is just a pod. Well, he's a very good pod racer, although he did get beaten by that kid that one time.
It's difficult because Jar Jar Binks would be a funny podcaster, but Jar Jar Binks might be dumb enough to just be controlled by the deep state as president. Maybe it'd be like Jar Jar Binks would be like the actual Autopen president.
I mean, he literally was. He overheard a conversation about how great it would be to make a great emperor, and he's like, "Misa, do it now. Misa, give emergency powers."
So does that mean we're putting Jar Jar as president?
I think Jar Jar deserves a shot. I think we'll put Jar Jar as president.
We'll have Jar Jar be the useful idiot. Oh my God.
Oh no,
Jar Jar Binks it turns out he's been a Sith Lord mastermind this entire time.
I should have known it was coming.
Goodness.
Damn.
Why?
Fuck.
How have we set this up for ourselves? Oh, the Darth Jar Jar theory is one that I ascribe to. I think it's the greatest mistake that Star Wars ever made, not going full into that theory, and I think it's true. Do you have an opinion?
You heard of the Darth Jar Jar, the Dark Jar Jar
Of course,
theory?
yeah, of course I'm familiar. Listen, I mean, he's got some pretty crazy, coincidences happening and such. I think there's some merit to it. I'm not sure if I'm 100%
the clone armor. He put Palpatine in place as the Emperor. Like, yeah.
Executed moves only ever seen by Jedis, at least in the movies we've seen so far. All right, then. I guess we'll go ahead with that. Jar Jar Binks, God help us all, is leading our country. Sebulba gets to talk about his pod racing escapades on a podcast, and Watto on the crime of enslaving children. I suppose that will put you in prison. Interrupting the games, I see that we have somebody in the waiting room. We've got our friend Chipingro.
Oh boy.
So let's drag in Chipingro. Hello there. You are on the Marketplace of Ideas. How are you doing, sir?
How is everybody this evening? Nanfan, how are you, sir?
Doing good, of course.
Welcome in, neighbor.
No, correction. How are you, my neolib?
True.
My goodness, busting out the N-word. Dear Lord. We don't normally allow for that on this show.
Well, that's if I wanted to talk to Nanfan about anything, that's kind of what I want to point to is I think that if we are going to do anything good for the country that we love, that there are crazies on my side. Nanfan knows that. He pokes fun at them all the time, and I cheer him on for doing so. There are crazies on his side as well. And so we kind of have to start reaching across the aisle. What do you think?
I don't know, dog. What does reaching across the aisle even mean in that context?
It means if we're going to be super pragmatic about it, which seems to be all of the talk on your side, if it's us versus the crazies, I pick us. And that means...
I mean, I agree. I just don't know where there's anywhere to, like, reach across the aisle on that issue. I don't know. Even, like...
Not with the modern populist right, but...
America
to the extent we reach across the aisle, by the way, it's like the populist Republicans and Democrats all voting for, like, the same stuff. Or like, they did that with the housing bill that, like, banned some... or like taxed essentially the construction of like build to rent housing, right? Like that's when people reach across the aisle. I don't know if there's any. I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's a strong will on the Republican side to ever do anything substantial with like standing up to some of the stuff Trump does or whatever. And there's like certainly some Democrats who are willing to or would be willing to do that if it like was available, but I think there's also a lot of Democrats just mostly interested in like their own type of messaging that's not really that they don't really focus on that.
Well, since we're on the Marketplace of Ideas, I'm gonna take this moment to reach across and absolutely agree with you. There's not a lot of people on my side who are open to the idea, and part of it is what you just said. Every time somebody like me comes in and says, "Hey, my neolib, how we doing? The neocons over here, you know, we want more Marco Rubios and the craziness of the current White House." And you say, I don't know about those Republicans.
Well, because you're like I think there's, you know, I don't want to be all fucking like TDS or whatever, but like there's something like fundamentally, I think, like corrupting or like kind of going against your principles or whatever. You truly like are a liberal, like working with someone, you know, like Trump. And I would say like there's potentially the same thing to, I would say like a lesser degree, but like, you know, with like some crazy progressive Democrats or whatever, I think there would be like potentially some type of corruption or your moral compass if like a true classical liberal type person was like trying to work with them on some stuff or like working for them. Like it seems like you and like you're willing to like work with someone, collaborate with them in spite of the like openly illiberal things that they've done and are doing. And I just like don't think that's like, I don't think that's the political project you should be engaging in at all. It seems like that's probably bad. And I think Rubio's probably done bad things. Like the Venezuelan boat strikes just seem kind of bad. I'm not certain about the actions of Venezuela.
And I realized I have a choice to make. I disagree with you about the majority of the Republican Party. I think a good, strong portion of the Republican Party is still boomer neocons. And boomer neocons
but like
have gone
but like who in the like if there was an impeachment vote for Trump right now over any one of the 10 things you could probably impeach him for, probably at most one or two Republicans in the House would vote for that, right?
You're absolutely right. Let me lay out my predicament here. All right. I can rail against people like the people in my family and tell them how they're violating their principles, and all they do is shut down. And it goes against my principles to not want some kind of punishment. But for me, I want them to get back on the track that, ironically enough, they put me on, right? The Reaganite era beliefs are still there, and what they need right now, I'm gonna borrow a term. Forgive me, anybody who hears this on the internet. They need a permission structure to come back to something more meaningful. If they feel like every time they go a little bit to the left, all they have is enemies, what do you think they're going to do? And do we really think that we can get boomers? Like, I know my people, they're far too stubborn. I don't think I'm ever going to get them to say, yeah, you were right, we shouldn't have voted for Trump. But maybe when the next presidential election comes around, I can get them to push toward a better candidate. Same thing for Marco Rubio. You can say Marco Rubio is engaging in the modern, like the current admin. I agree with that. But he's also a restraint on the current admin.
I mean, I think to some degree he is, and like he's probably maybe besides Kevin Warsh, maybe the like least bad person like Trump has nominated or whatever. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I consider like what I have for or what I'm doing like a punishment or whatever. I do think like you should like, politicians should be punished if they like refuse to stand up to certain principles, right? Or refuse to do certain things. I think with regards to like people, like unfortunately a lot of people is like never going to change their mind or whatever. And like, I don't know exactly what to do about that, but I don't know how like, I don't know how
fluffy tiger that runs out on the field for them at games. It's not something they're going to be willing to do. And I don't like it. I think they ought do that. I think they ought look at what's going on around them and go, hey, wait a second. This doesn't go along with all the things we've been speaking about for at least the
But what is the reaching across the aisle look like that changes that dynamic? Like
all it looks like from your side, especially from the center, is being a little bit more open to the right-leaning curious. Right? What happened to the left being the all-inclusive tent? It's like if you ever went to the other side, that's it. You're stained. You're stained with that that mark.
I'm not sure it was ever the all-inclusive tent or whatever. I think there's just one. I think there's a like a dynamic where like the behavior of someone is like just like absolutely disqualifying, and like it's hard to grant any type of concession or like any type of like leniency with some of that stuff, because some of the stuff does like genuinely deserve to be punished. And with regard to individual voters, I recognize like it's not really gonna like help to like punish them specifically, but there does have to be like some limits with regard to like who you work with or anything if they like engage in like genuinely disqualifying activity.
Yeah. So what exactly do you think that strategy looks like then, Chipingro?
I'm just saying, don't snap at everybody who's coming out and saying, hey man, maybe we can get back to something a little bit more meaningful, because I think that there's a lot of, if nothing else, we live in a strange world where I've suddenly become an establishment shill. Like, I don't want everything torn down. I think there's agreement there. I think even on the right, where they want a lot of these things pulled back, they would still rather see it done more responsibly. So maybe for once the left can be the restraint on the right. But like, let's not be enemies, because what I'm really worried about the most is what I see a lot is if you have the other team's tag on your shirt, you're
Conversation's already over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I think if this is one of those things that happens a lot in our conversations, Chipingro. It's you're saying something that is generally totally unoffensive, but the way you're saying it sounds like you're asking for more or pushing for more, and that makes people defensive. I think all of us here can agree that trying to talk past the performative team camps garbage and talking about real issues is an important way for us to create that forward progress. I don't even necessarily think of that as like against the current strategies that we're doing. I think it's something people should be reminded of. Absolutely. And I think we can probably all agree with that, right? Right, Nonfun? Generally, you can agree.
I'm just not sure what any of that would ever actually look like in a context of what we're seeing right now. Like,
yeah, in the national conversations, in the political spotlight and everything, it's tough to say what that looks like. Is that inviting more Liz Cheney's around, or or what? I think that's why we keep circling back to, okay, well, what does that actually look like? What kind of work are we actually looking at doing there? And maybe your general suggestion is just, let's try and have more conversations that aren't just about the obvious partisanship, right? Is that something of what you're getting at, or what?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't have all of the answers here. And I'm gonna lay out all of my cards on the table. If it sounds like I'm asking for something, it's because I am asking for something. But I'm asking for something from someone who I feel like I have some appreciation for, in that a lot of us are looking around and going, where are the adults? I mean, we get defensive about our side, but on some level, our system only works if we work together and don't see ourselves as just outright bad. So I'm asking more than I should. It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. But if you're willing to be the adult, I think a lot of good can be done.
Yeah.
How are I don't understand. How are Democrats not acting like adults right now? Like, what the fuck? Like, what?
I laid it out at the very beginning of this conversation.
There's what
animosity.
elected Democrats? I understand. There's maybe some cultural.
We could get in this, but I didn't want to go down this route because this is a misnomer. The two parties function differently. Like, the Democrats function in such a way that their politicians are very posh in the more recent era, very posh, and they do subtle pushback on the more extremes of the crowd, but they're going off polls. They want to be what's best in the polls. So if the crowd is saying it, there's some aspect of like, oh, well, it's not the best, but
So the left is a little more bottom up and the right is a little more top down currently. Is that what you're saying?
I'll give you that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the discussion.
I don't disagree with that. It just feels like, for one, that seems somewhat preferable to me. Like, at least in the context of the Republican Party having a cult of personality around Trump, right? Like, maybe in other times it'd be more acceptable to have a top-down policy or whatever, especially on issues voters aren't really informed on. But because Trump has so much of a cult of personality around him, because he has so many people willing to lie for him, it's too easy for him to create narratives and shape a lot of Republicans' opinions on things. So I don't like that in the context of what we're currently seeing. And then I do think the behavior of the politicians matters when it comes to how people are behaving in Congress, how policy is being made, whether or not they're acting like adults in Congress is going to be relevant there. And I just don't see the ways in which Democrats are significantly acting like children or whatever. I feel like Republicans do that way more often.
Yeah, Chipingra, are you
like all the way back in Obama? Like we had them trying to make Obama a one-term president, not letting Obama get his Supreme Court pick, right? Like Biden passed it was semi-bipartisan legislation, right? There weren't many Republican signatures on it or anything, but I mean he tried. I don't think Trump has done much of the same.
Yeah, it seems like the left has been much more open to this more center, everybody America, Big Ten, anybody that wants to join, as long as we just, care about having a rational policy. Uh-huh.
The analysis was that the left is bottom up.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. This criticism or suggestion isn't necessarily for the politicians. It's more for those of us below, those of us who are having the on-the-ground conversations, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this isn't as much about the political establishment, up at the top, but more as us as peer-to-peer human beings having these conversations. See, this is what I mean, Chipingra. For whatever reason, you're really good at framing something as like some sort of biting criticism, where it's more of a suggestion towards a better tomorrow that we can all probably vibe with. You know what I mean?
I don't like to hide from, I don't want to put too much sugar on it. I want to be clear about what it is that I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what's the behavior that I or other streamers or other Democrats should even change? There's certainly a subset of people who are crazy woke Democrats or whatever who won't seriously engage with people who support Trump or whatever. But for one, if someone tells me they support Trump, usually you can infer 80% of their other positions, and they're all dumb positions. I feel like it's fair for me oftentimes to go into that conversation semi-antagonistic or whatever.
A little bit jaded.
Right. It's many of them are just I think you would agree that it's just kind of outright dumb. I talked to fucking Spin City and he's just kind of outright dumb. He just does not understand many of these things. It's I don't know what behavior I should change there.
He was a guest on your show, but let me get to the heart of your question, and I think it is a good question. You're asking, what is it? What are the actual actions that you're asking me to do? And I'm going to dodge a little bit out of honesty, I hope, and reframe in a slightly different way, and ask you, non-font, do you feel like the Overton window is fracturing?
What do you mean by that?
Do you feel like the left is pulling left, the right is pulling right, and the overlap of the two movies syndrome, I heard somebody call it, where people see the same thing, but the analysis they do is just distinctly different?
To some extent, yeah, but I think a lot of it is also just both of them kind of getting more populist. They both are doing the weird anti-tax stuff, right? And they both do the anti-institutional home buyers and things like that. So,
preach, brother, preach. We're on the same page here, right? So the question is, do you want to live in a country where that Overton window has fully fractured? And if not, though I can't tell you exactly what to do, I'm asking all of us to put on our big boy pants and say, as the adults in the room, what should we be doing in all of these minutia of situations? It's no one thing. It's little things after another that is setting us back on the track of, decency for one. Let's get back to decency.
I mean, I'm not going to have the best prescription there, but I think it is going to involve some amount of quote unquote punishment for people who behaved in illiberal ways, and they're just
shaming.
They're you do have to call people out. You do have to I mean, I think probably there are people who for J6 should be disqualified from holding office. Well, some of them still are, right? But you have to do things like that, I think.
Do you think you'd be willing to give up in certain places that gratification if you felt it would? Not that you find this to be the case in most situations, but would you be willing to forego that in some cases if it were to be certain to get us back on track to more responsible conversations?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you don't think that's currently the track we need to be on. My intuition is with you as well, Non-Fun, that there is a lot of, and I think if we keep it directed to the people that are the representatives that have done these actions, instead of trying to tar the entire movement and the people below the more guilty parties, I think we can move back to that more responsible conversation. But I do agree that these people are lying to the American people. They're anti-freedom of speech, anti-democracy in many cases, and it has to be reckoned with in a way. And I'm not sure if we get back to a better system without reckoning with it.
To fully back Non-Fun, it is 100% against my intuitions to ask for what I'm promoting right now. I'm just, hey, look at me. I'm doing utilitarian calculus. Aren't you proud of me? I don't see the world where punishing the thing that people look at as their mascot is a winning world. But that said, whatever wins I can get, I will try to follow my own advice and say, Non-Fun, I appreciate whatever you're willing to put across the table. Most of us probably don't deserve it. I apologize, but I still think that there's good work that can be done, and not all of us are completely lost.
Real.
I mean,
Well, I appreciate it.
maybe be open for those moments where we can make a better dialogue like that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
We'll just commit to having good conversations with good faith and benefit of the doubt between the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis, and then all of us collectively will agree to no longer vote for politicians who are adjacent to pedophiles, or perhaps even pedophiles themselves.
It's crazy. You're joking, but that's the win, right? That's the win where we can look at our country and say we agree on where our country is, and we need somebody who's not like our team. Team America.
Yeah, be nice to each other. No pedophiles. I think that's a great place to start for
a great summary.
A way to bridge that gap. So hopefully we can do that moving forward. Chipingro, appreciate you so much calling in. I don't suppose you'd be down to stick around for a game with us, would you?
If Non-Fun will have me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Non-Fun, what do you think? Should we have him as a guest for a game?
Yeah.
I'm sensing an opportunity to get a little experimental and try a new game that we've been workshopping that we alluded to earlier. So in lieu of more rounds of Podcaster Prisoner President, much to my chagrin, we will be trying out a team game this time. We're going to be splitting Non-Fun and Chipingro up into different teams, and you're going to get paired with myself or James for a game that we like to call Make James and Kyle.
Damn.
Uh-oh.
That was the wrong button, it turns out.
That was the wrong button. Make James...
That's the problem when they put the soundboard directly underneath the hang-up button. Here we go.
Great.
Make James and Kyle say the thing.
Make James and Kyle say the thing.
See, there we are. So, very much like it sounds, we're going to give some keywords that one or the other of you are going to be making James or I say out loud. You've got one word prompt that you're going to be giving us that will not sound anything like the word that you're trying to get us to say. For example, let's say we had the category of finance, and the keyword, the password, if you will, is something like quarterly. The prompter, that means one of you, is going to have to use one-word prompts to get either me or James to say that word. You might use a word like fourths, and then James or I might answer, quarters? That's not quite the word, so then you'd have to give us another prompt. Maybe the prompt would be yearly, and then that would lead us to say, quarterly, and then we would get the point for that round wherever we end up. Now, I believe I've got a visual aid that I can use.
Are we taking turns for our...
Yes, you will indeed be taking turns. So I suppose since Non-Fun is our guest, perhaps Non-Fun will go first. Non-Fun, between myself or James, who do you think you can best prompt to say the word? Insofar as you can make such a judgment.
I guess James. That's what my gut's telling me.
Oh my goodness, I'll try not to be an insult. That's 2 insults this stream. You've called me improper, and then you've sided with James over me for this game. I'll try not to be offended, but I won't pretend that my feelings aren't hurt. All right then. Well, seeing as you got to pick your partner and you're going first, Chipingro, we've got a collection of categories that we can look at. If you'll pardon me as I get situated here with this new game. So, between economic theories, economic theories, political ideologies, famous historical political figures, contemporary political figures, forms of government, philosophical concepts.
We got 10 categories, Kyle. I don't know if you'll be
too
able to
many.
remember them all. Yeah.
Forms of government.
Hey, I thought we were going to go with 3, but here we have all these. Forms of government, you say? All right then. So, the category will be forms of government. James and I are each going to pick a word from the list that we have here of keywords. I'm going to pick this one. So then, James and I hopefully each have our word. And since Nonfon and James are going to be going first, James, you're going to be trying to guess the word that I've picked from this list. So I'm going to ask you, if you could, to please close your eyes and ears as I share the word on the screen. Beautiful. So then, the password is that word right there, technocracy. We need the toolbar back. We need to cover this up.
How do we get James back if he's deafened?
Good question. We'll
I actually heard that. I didn't hear you say that I needed to deafen Kyle, so I heard you say the word.
I said close your eyes and ears.
Well, how am I going to get back if I closed my eye? I figured you would just show it. You should just show the word.
This is an experiment. We're gonna try it again. James.
Brilliant.
I'm gonna delete the word that I just made.
Yes.
See,
you could just not say it out loud.
Well, then, I mean, what if people are listening and they're not watching the show?
Okay,
we gotta account for all of our audience.
Do I just deafen
here.
for like 10 seconds then?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Well, you better get there.
All right.
Say go. Say go.
I'm the one who said that we needed to have a prepared visual aid for this, and you're like, "Nah, we'll just write it. We'll just do it."
I like this. We saved the tech struggles for the end this time.
Beautiful, indeed. All right. Picking a different word from my list, even though I really liked that one.
Okay, so then I'm just going to mute myself for 10 seconds and hope you've said it.
Deafen yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready, James? Get ready to
How am I going to say I'm ready if I'm muted? Oh, wait.
Well, in 10 seconds, unmute and undeafen yourself.
Okay, well, give me the signal.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mute and deafen. The word is oligarchy. Oh, God. Oh, God. James, don't look. James, don't look.
I'm not looking. It can be up still. This is why we test things.
You know what? I think we're okay. You'll just have to take my word for it that the word that I chose is the word you're going to guess. Nonfon, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. 1 word prompts, and you're going to go one at a time, starting now.
Elon.
Oh. Okay, there's a couple that could go into this. Oh. Oligarchy?
Boom. 0.
Let's go.
Guess, James
Easy.
Vagabond nails it. That is going to be 6,400 points in the form of, I suppose, since you're on Nonfon's team, you should be getting Nonfon stock, shouldn't you? Well, I guess it would go to Nonfon, not you. You don't get anything, James.
True.
Nonfon. We're gonna pump your stock by 6,400 Grift coin once this game is over. That being said, we've got another round. This time, Chipingro.
Wait, what does that mean? We're gonna pump his stock? Does that mean if people bought it, if people buy Can people hack the system here and go buy non-fun right now, and then it'll get pumped, and then they'll make more Gryptcoin?
baby.
Listen,
Pump non-fun.
if you care
We're
about
never going to
earning
financially
fake
recover
currency,
from this.
You know what? We'll have to balance the books as best we can. But if you care about getting in on some fake currency while the timing is hot, you should buy some non-fon stock now before I pump the value later. That being said, it's
Did
time
you guys
for,
ever? I don't know if you guys saw I had my like Google accounts hacked a little bit ago, and people were able to. For the most part, it was okay because I had two-factor authentication on for most things. But they got into a few things. They got into my Discord and they DM'd everyone like some fake crypto scam coin shit.
Oh,
and
great.
they got into my TikTok.
I bought plenty.
Yeah, they got on my TikTok and they were live streaming some Russian crypto scam too.
I've seen one of those happen to somebody before. I was like, oh, this guy was cool. Now he's shilling crypto. What happened?
I was wondering why you were on the top of my messages in Discord the other day, and yet you had no message. That must be why.
I deleted them.
All right then.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, now you have an actual opportunity to make an unactual cryptocurrency. Again,
beautiful.
Not real.
Make some big money.
No real money. James, it is your round. Let me know when I should mute and deafen.
Let me choose a better word. I picked one that was too easy.
Okay.
That's. We'll just go with this one then. Okay. Should I just say it out loud because I don't have a visual? I could stream Paint, but I feel like I could just say the word, right?
Yeah,
I suppose you could, but then we'll have to differentiate where our. I'll tell you what. I will copy this arrow. I'll make a new arrow. And guess what? This arrow is going to be a different color. How about, I don't know.
What are we doing?
I'm making a new arrow on the screen that I have switched away from, and I'll switch back to in just a moment. Boom. Here we go. So,
what is the new arrow going to do?
Now, we've got two arrows, one of which is Team Non-Fawn, the other is Team Chapingro. White arrow is going to be Team Non-Fawn, black will be Team Chapingro. So
righty. So we'll have you mute Kyle for 10 seconds. This is a form of government, right?
Indeed it is. All right, give me the cue.
We're just gonna go with nationalism. Simple nationalism. All right, Kyle, you can come back now. You don't have to close your. I wasn't putting it on the screen, Kyle. You don't have to close your eyes. This is way more than 10 seconds. I didn't put anything on. You don't have to close your eyes, Kyle. You don't even have to close your eyes, Kyle. Kyle, you don't have to close your eyes.
See, I tried extra hard.
You tried way too hard because we just told you that you don't have to close your eyes because I'm not putting anything on the screen.
Well, I don't know what the word is, so it seems like I'm successful.
On some metric, yes, sure. Beautiful.
All right, Chapingro, are you ready?
First clue, Chapingro. What do you got for us?
Whew. Non-fun did that one fast. Let's see. Mustache.
God, I wish I could ask follow-up questions like how big is the mustache? There's a few mustaches I could go with.
Great mustaches of history come to mind.
Communism?
Boom, 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 boom. Wow. That's one down.
Christian.
Nazism?
Christian. One down. One down.
Oof. Those were my good ones. German. I'm flailing. Just guess. I've got one more.
Yeah.
Socialism.
Oh God, there's the cluster of. That'd be a no. One more down. All right, we got one more hint. Or what do you got for us, Chipingro?
All right. Shoot, I got to make it one word. This is difficult. Oof. Trump. I'm failing.
Trump.
Populism.
Combine.
Combine.
You hit all of them, bro.
You've gotten so close in so many ways, dude. You know what? This isn't quite. You know what? Fuck. We kind of messed up in that it's almost not quite. It's almost not. I mean, it's not a form of governance. We fucked up here. We fucked up here.
Oh,
Non-Fon's been wanting to say this the whole time, isn't he? Did I grab it from the long list? Oh yeah, God, fuck! I grabbed it from the political ideology list. Oh my God, I am a son of a bitch. You know what? Your hits. It was fucking
cheated.
Nationalism.
I should have noticed that. I was.
I looked at the list, and the top of the list was communism. So I was like, oh, forms of government, and then it's one that's both ways. Well, God damn it. Well, this is why we test things.
All right, that was pain. Do we want to do another one?
You know what? I say let's go back to P3 and end out the night, gentlemen. We can workshop this game a little bit more. The bones are there. We can flesh the idea out later. Non-Fon, thank you for being a part of this experiment, and you too as well, Chipingro.
Well, I liked it because I won.
True.
Well, indeed.
Yeah, he still gets his damn money. Okay,
Yeah,
Non-Fon is still getting pumped.
I feel like Chipingro.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I feel like
phrasing.
Pause. I feel like Chipingro should still get full rewards for his round too, since I got whatever the proper word is for screwed over.
Chipingro, please.
Very good. So 6,400 to each of Non-Fon's stocks and Chipingro's portfolio. Chipingro, do you want that in the form of Grift coin, or do you want that in the form of Non-Fon stock?
I've got to put it into Non-Fon stock.
Of
Very
course.
good.
Jesus.
Are you going to put it into Non-Fon stock before before I pump it? Is that what you want? You want me to give you the Grift coin so that you can buy some Non-Fon?
No, I like buying things at the correct market value. So
well.
I will bite the bullet. Buy me some Non.
We'll be principled then. Back to
Wait, can I?
Our favorite. Yeah.
Never mind. I'm not going to tell you my idea. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Oh no, we've got an economist looking under the hood of our system and figuring out how he's going to exploit it. My God, we will never financially recover from having Non-Fon on.
Oh well, that's what we get, I suppose. All right, let's go back to some podcaster prisoner president, and let's do something serious. We've already talked about the abundance libs. Let's talk about something a little further left.
Uh-oh.
Let's go.
Let's see. And am I on the correct? All these things to monitor, so many different things on my screen. I just want to make sure that I'm streaming the correct thing.
We see your P cubed.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So then, let me pop this back out. All right. So once again, we've got 3 folks that we're going to be sorting. And first up, we've got Senator Elizabeth Warren. We've got Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Ro Khanna. 3 members of the further left side of the Democratic Party. Chipingro and Non-Fon. How do we sort these folks?
Oh man. Bro, okay.
I feel like I'm working toward prisoner more than president here. So
who do we get out of here is Chipingro's thinking.
God, I don't know what to I don't know. Dude, Dude, it depends on the day what they tweet to piss me off. Bro, Rokana just tweeted the fucking $25 minimum wage video where he like made a bunch of stupid bullshit stuff about him being a Stanford economist and such. Got Elizabeth Warren though with the spirit stuff posting. Like, I'm going based off what recently triggered me. Oh boy. I don't know. So I think Elizabeth Warren and Rokana both strike me as like people who have some capacity to be smart. Like, I'm not like familiar with her work that much, but like Warren went to whatever, like law school. Didn't she go to Harvard Law or whatever? It seems like she engaged in like semi-serious stuff there. I'm sure it was woke.
They have some capacity to be smart, but not poor Bernie. He has no capacity to be smart.
Bernie, absolutely none.
Actually,
wait, hold on.
Say this. I'm gonna stand in for Bernie for a half second. Bernie,
I think actually
extremely consistent for decades.
That is true. Other than on immigration, I think actually Bernie, if I'm doing the true utilitarian calculus, okay, Bernie has talked about X risk from AI, okay, and that is clearly a bigger something worth waiting. So I'm going Bernie for president. That's
oh, you love him.
Wow. Non-fun the Bernie bro. Didn't expect that.
We've come full circle.
Well, that leaves us with Elizabeth and Roe. Where do we put these folks?
I think
I'm gonna not stray too far here, so I'm just gonna jump in and say pains me as it does. I think Bernie is the man for president. I might agree here.
All right, we've got some agreement.
Maybe Rokana, but Fawn is making me feel like Rokana is not it.
He just like he pisses me off, bro. I don't get him.
If he pisses you off, what do you think I'm gonna feel like?
Man, I feel like I think nobody would listen to Elizabeth Warren's podcast, but I think people might listen to Rokana's podcast. So I mean,
if we're judging by viability, then maybe she would have the worst podcast for sure. But does that mean she should go to prison over Roe?
Yeah, Rokana's stupid.
I feel like she could be a great member of the dying NPR, right?
Also, real quick, to address one of the haters in my chat. Okay, Sanders literally wants workers in corporate boards. I know Sanders has a lot of real dumb stuff, so a lot of it dumber than Warren and Kana. But he's talked about X risk from AI. Okay, so clearly higher expected value. He cares about the potential. He has a P doom of above 30% probably. So
they're all gonna fall to the whims of populism, but at least he'll fight against AI. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
To agree with your chatter, help me out here. I need a gut check. Is Bernie Sanders gonna stay consistent like he has been, or if we put him in the president, is he gonna come to his full form?
Obviously, I really don't know how much Bernie would be willing to like negotiate on stuff. So it's hard to know like if he's gonna like hardcore stick to we need fucking single payer healthcare, or if he would be able to negotiate like a public option. I imagine at least his internal beliefs would stay consistent, but I don't really know how he would handle negotiating certain things.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hope it's at least an evil I know, because the other two here seem a little bit too. Warren could get up. She could decide the presidency can fix us all. So, I like Warren for NPR.
Warren for NPR. Okay.
I like it.
I think the damage he does as a podcaster is limited. So.
Okay. Well,
he's super wonky, right?
She is pretty wonky. I mean, some might take issue with her positions, but
as politicians,
I feel like she used to be. I feel like I haven't seen her do that. That's a shtick anymore. She used to be I got a fucking plan for that. I feel like I haven't heard her do that.
Yeah.
People don't even want that anymore. So even if she does it on a podcast, no one wants that shit anymore. They want random slop.
And I'm a red button pusher, and I don't know much about this guy, so wherever he ends up, I guess.
Well, I guess that's going to have to do us. Bernie Sanders is president. Elizabeth Warren gets to talk on NPR, and Ro Khanna, for the crimes of triggering non-fawn, is going to have to stay in prison. Well, with our final 5 minutes, perhaps one final round of podcaster, prisoner, president is in order. And since it is May 4th, we'll close it out with the Star Wars.
Beautiful. May the 4th be with us.
Indeed. Hear, hear. And I think we should probably just go with some Star Wars characters that everybody knows and loves. And so none of the crazy deep cuts for this one. So we're going to go with Bib Fortuna, the head enforcer of Jabba's palace, Max Rebo of the Max Rebo Band, and Salacious B. Crumb, the court jester of Jabba's palace. Certainly, you all know who these characters are.
I do recognize them.
Okay, that's a start.
He said no deep cuts, and these are all like kind of side characters at best.
Don't. Max Rebo doesn't like actually speak, right? He does like funky music stuff.
He makes that keyboard speak. You telling me that you don't enjoy listening some nice jizz once in a while? That jizz is that's the style of music they play in Star Wars, and that's straight from George Lucas.
True.
Jizz.
From the brilliant creative mind of the guy who stole sci-fi from Dune.
I feel like Salacious. This is difficult because I think Salacious B. Crumb and Max Rebo both have a good case for being the podcaster. One's a jester, one's like a musical performer.
Sure, but I mean, like, doesn't Max Rebo, with his experience as a band leader, like that is an experience of leadership?
It is a leadership experience,
That might make him the best president. Otherwise, we're stuck with Bib Fortuna, and I mean, yeah, he's good. He's probably good at keeping Jabba's books organized, but does that mean he would be a good leader? I don't know. Not to mention, he's probably committed a fair amount of crimes.
I don't think he'd be a good podcaster either, though. I don't know. He speaks really weird too. Although, isn't it? It's like an actual language, right? It's just not.
He does. He doesn't typically speak Galactic Basic, which I think would make it harder for most audiences to enjoy what he's saying. I mean, I can't say much better for Salacious B. Crumb or Max Rebo, to be fair, in that regard.
Yeah, but they got gimmicks.
Sure, fair enough. Well, with that
I'm putting Bib as prisoner, okay? Fuck this dude.
Bib Fortuna, you are stuck in prison for... Oh, that's the wrong layer again. My God.
I think he's the only podcast worth listening to up there, personally.
Really?
I really do. Well, I mean, Salacious B. Crumb, just an awful voice to listen to. I'd rather listen to RFK. Max Rebo, we don't really know much about the gentleman. Plays a good keyboard. Doesn't mean you're going to be interesting to talk to. I just feel
have you guys seen Hotel Transylvania, like 2 or 3, where the final battle, that fucking dude plays the keyboard to defeat the big monster dude?
No, I've not. Not recently.
I think that's what Max Rebo would do as president. I think he'd solve like Russia, Ukraine, all the negotiations. He'd just be playing that shit, and it would fix itself. I'm going for him as president.
Max Rebo saving the world with his songs as president of the U.S. Well, I mean,
Salacious B. Crumb's going to be the clavicular of the left. That's his role.
It's not going to be a podcast that everybody enjoys, but he will get a podcast. Chipingra, I hope that this list doesn't disagree with you too much.
On all accounts,
and if it does,
I disagree.
Really?
Perfect.
Yeah. Bib Fortuna as president. Everybody else here doesn't, like, we don't even know if they have a brain between their ears. So he's evil, but at least he's not dumb.
Very well. Right? Well, where does that give us our musician and our jester?
Okay, I can make both of these work. Salacious B. Crumb. He strikes me as, like, chaotic evil. This dude is not doing any good in the world. He's not helping any grandmas cross the street. As a matter of fact, he's putting out banana peels so that he can laugh at the grandmas. This guy's going to prison. All right? And I'm old. It used to be that NPR was jazz all night. Max Rebo needs a long night window.
An old school DJ where you just, you chill out with Max and listen to some jizz.
Well, we've had different interpretations for the final round of podcaster prisoner president. Perhaps the most contentious issue that we've come across all night, save for our friend localist, yeah, which checking in on the chat here. He was commenting on our game earlier.
Tech Troubles.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say here our friend Tech Troubles.
Oh, Tech Troubles made an appearance, which we're, not necessarily glad to see him, but such is the way when we're dealing with the marketplace of ideas.
Old friends.
Anyway, our final issue then would be non-fun with our caller Chipingro here. How much grift coin do you think we should give him?
Chipingo, I will grant you as much as I possibly can, conditional on you purchasing non-fun coin.
Okay, so in addition to the other stuff, I'm also putting I can put all of it non-fun coin. That
you're going to put 7,400 grift coin into non-fun, and you're going to do this after I pump the coin?
I'm going to have to try to pump some of my others as well, but yeah, I'm going to need some
conditional on you only buying non-fun coin. No other coin.
Deal.
Can't buy anyone else for a period of the next
I have
2 podcasts.
A little market collusion going on.
I know you like the big government reaching into everybody's wallet, but with my own coin, I will spend it as I like.
Then I'm not giving you. Stuff. Then I'm giving you 0.
Okay.
Am I not allowed to spend on anything but non-fun in the future?
Not in perpetuity.
Not for a period of 2
right,
streams. We'll say
we have a non-compete clause.
I have my little, pouch under my mattress of already accumulated grift coin. Are you saying I can't spend that accumulated grift coin on something else?
For a period of 2 more podcast streams, that's the deal. You can only buy non-fun coin
in exchange for 1,000.
I'm a whale in that market, but I will make that deal. This has been a great show.
Wow,
let's
very
go.
Good. There we go. 7,400 grift coin going to Chipingro after I've already pumped the value of the non-fon token. So non-fon, until somebody overtakes you, you will be the leading creator with a stock in the marketplace of ideas. Chipingro, thank you so much for calling in and hanging out with us for a bit. And non-fon, thank you so much for coming back. We look forward to having you on again in the near future.
Appreciate
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be on hopefully next week.
Very good.
Do you have anything coming up you'd like to tell us about to look out for?
I don't have anything hardcore planned. I think I'm going to be doing my regular streams. I'll be talking about econ stuff, reacting to econ stuff, and doing politics whenever something happens there.
Well, one thing that we can look out for you for is having you back to discuss a similar thing with Soy Pill soon.
Of course.
We're going to have a conversation with him, and we can look forward to that. So that's something to keep an eye out on Non-Fon's and our channel. Well, thank you so much for coming down. Do we have anything else to wrap up, Kyle?
I think that more or less sorts it. If you've been enjoying this content, you're watching the Marketplace of Ideas. You can find us at the Marketplace of Ideas on YouTube. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you're feeling generous. We've also got a Discord server, and if you haven't checked that out, please do so as well to see updates and participate in our fake economy that we've constructed. We're going to be developing that a little bit more as we roll out the episode, so hopefully it'll be some good fun.
Got a lot of fun plans for it. Everybody keep an eye out. Alrighty. Well, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Thank you, Non-Fon, and everybody have a wonderful evening.
You too. I'll see you guys later. Appreciate
it.
Real. Had fun, sir. Thank you. I had fun too, Chipringo. Okay. Well, I guess not that short of a stream, actually, considering the entire thing was a conversation. But I've been up for over 24 hours at this point. Praise the Lord, though. Sleep schedule now fixed. Semi-forced because I had school today and such, but woohoo. Okay. If I don't stream in tomorrow, I'll stream the day after. The
calculus is just algebra after it hit the gym, dude. It's
true. If I don't stream tomorrow, I'll stream the day after. I have like homework I have to do tomorrow, so I might not stream. You guys on YouTube can head over to redirect, add, search. head over to Destiny. Let's get it. Let's get the huge and non-fun raid into Destiny. Well-known non-fun orbiter Destiny. Okay, but appreciate you guys. Love the stream. Love you guys watching the stream. Stream again Wednesday at the very least, and then hopefully we'll be talking to Soy Pill on Monday about some other some hell. I'm really hoping to talk a decent amount of healthcare stuff with him. I've been reading a bit more on that. So love you guys. See you later.